Today on Best Ball Breakfast, a monumental episode. I decided, you know what? Let's hit 100 drafts today. But to do that, we're going to have to pick up the pace, which means we're doing draft number 97 to kick things off. Then drafts 98 and 99 will be multi-tabled. I have streamed all of my drafts up to this point, but I've never attempted more than one at once. We're going to give that a go. 2 tabs, the overflow drafters will be serviced in this one. And then finally, we'll cap it off with the century mark, the 100th draft, 100th Best Ball Mania 4 draft. All of it here on Best Ball Breakfast. Let's go.
Oh, another Influencer 101 for the backward hats, bro. Rigged!
Zach Ertz with no Tyler Algier bringback? Yikes.
You reached around for correlation? That's a no-no. You ADP bros disgust me. How about you just live a little?
Handcuffing might actually be a way to get unique if the field's avoiding it.
The Wi-Fi at this resort is a disaster?
These fucking streamers don't have player takes. What if a piss boy draft is the room you need?
Oh!
I like this right here. Sean saying no coffee pour until 50 likes. I think we hold the coffee pour hostage until we get to 50 likes. What are we at here? I have to pull it up. We're at 31 likes. Okay. Yeah. When we get to 50, we can do the coffee pour. Although I do need to let you know, I did kind of mark it last week as cold brew week, as if it was a one-off thing. And then we would just be back to our hot coffee roots, hot coffee roots. Jesus. However, it's still hot out. It's still hot best ball summer. And I'm letting you guys know right now, it's cold brew week again. Part 2, the return, the squeakquel. And look, I know it's controversial. Some of you prefer the hearty pours from the carafe. But look, even I need to be serviced in this hot heat. And the way I'm servicing myself is with cold brew. So cold brew week rolls on for a sequel. I'm just letting you guys know that right now. Okay, we already got to 76 likes. So should we do this? Look, I know it's controversial. Not all of you like it, although some people made a specific mention that you do like the ice clinking in the glass. Maybe I can give you a little bit of that here to kick things off. You know what? You guys are actually going to be upset about me or upset at me with this too, because normally last week I had an actual glass. This time I have one of these plastic ones. I normally, now when I take April out for a walk early in the morning, I take these plastic ones so I don't risk, breaking a glass. And so I'm just using the one I was using earlier. So we're not even getting the good ASMR that comes with an actual glass. You guys are just, I'm going to get buried. I'm going to get buried in the comments. I know it, but here you go. It's not doing it for you. I can already tell. All right, but let's still go through this charade. Nonetheless, we got our concentrate here. We're going to go a little strong today. Need a hearty pour. If we're going to be multi-table in drafts, we need a strong base of concentrate. Let's get our Poland Spring water here. No free ads. Please message me, Poland Spring. I don't know how the audio listeners are feeling about this one. They're not getting service too hard. Let's see if we can get you a little stir, a little clinkage. That's better. That's better. All right, let me check the reviews. How are we doing here? We got a yikes, silence. What the hell was that? Brutal start. That's a no-no. I knew it. It was going to be tough. The fact that I went for back-to-back cold brew weeks and didn't have a glass cup, it's a heat check moment for your boy. It's a heat check moment, seeing how much can this guy get away with? What's next? Not playing Feed the Ducks? I mean, truly, what is next? Wow. Taking L's left and right. It's all right. I can take them. Speaking of L's, Tyler wrote on Twitter that he wasn't going to be able to do a draft or hang out in the chat this morning. He had work meetings come up, but Tyler does get in the super chat in honor of X. Oh, fuck, you're not going to make it. Talk about my player exposures. Mother effing 100 today, baby. Let's boink it respectfully. Thank you, Tyler. As always, thank you for all of your super chat support. But you guys are going to have to pick up the slack in Tyler's absence, okay? You guys are going to have to pick it up because Tyler is he's a critical part of this operation these days. I did just hop in a draft. I tried to tip people off, and it snap filled. Let me get everything up on the board here, and we'll be off to the races in best ball draft number 97. Let's see what slot we got here. You aren't going to believe this. You really aren't going to believe this, but it appears to be a later draft slot. Draft slot 111. Seems like every goddamn time these days. Truly. That's why we have to draft 4 total teams today to make sure that we finally get an influencer level slot. Let's get my screen all set up here. Let's get the screen set up. There we go. Can you guys see the draft board? We can see the draft board. We got that. What did I say this is? Draft number 97. All right, let's get the banner going. I need to take a sip of my controversial beverage. I need to really settle in here, okay? I got to be focused today. If I'm multi-tabling after this, I need to be focused. Another programming note for today's show, after this draft, we are going to have Sackreligious come back on. You guys might remember him coming on earlier in the season to talk about some dateable stuff he was working on in a recent article. He's going to come on and share his Best Ball Bowl submission in its close to final form. Those submissions do lock at the end of the month. A bunch of those has been trickling in as well, and we're going to have some more shows and content about those submissions, including Sackreligious today in between drafts number 97 and 98 and 99. So stay tuned for that big full episode of Best Ball Breakfast today. Buckle up. Man, I can't even keep up with the chat right now. We did get some comments about the stir. People saying rest in peace to Liam's portfolio because of, I assume, Nyheim Hines. By the way, speaking of Liam, I'm going to do a doubleheader with Liam this week. It's about time. Liam's going to do his first randomizer draft on Thursday night. We're doing a 9 p.m. kickoff, and then we're going to go right into a Best Ball After Dark. So similar to what we did with Ben Gretsch a few weeks back, we'll have a wild time, throw back some beverages on randomizer, and then head right to Best Ball After Dark, which is available for all of you YouTube members. Had a great one with Ron Stewart last week on Friday. Got lots of good feedback on that one. Highly recommend checking that out. What's this draft look like? So we didn't get, because when I registered, there were 2 people in or 2 people left. So I don't recognize a ton of friends and family here. But that's going to be the beauty of the multi-table, because there will be a literal overflow draft that ends up on screen. Let's see here. Diggs, Lamb, this is a pretty normal spot. I have been trying to boost up my Bijan a little bit. If we don't think this is going to be just an insane wide receiver room, I will happily take Bijan here and then see what comes back to me at 2-2. So we start this draft with Bijan. Amon-Ra St. Brown goes. We'll see what Wise Pollock does here. I could go super high T and go Chubb and Bijan. Nope. So we go Chubb there. I think I am going to continue to grab Garrett Wilson. You know, I don't know about you guys, but I watched a few training camp highlights of Aaron Rodgers tossing balls to Garrett Wilson in the back of the end zone, and I decided I've been influenced. I've been influenced by training camp clips, and I got to take Garrett Wilson. I need more of him. Are we taking a shot on Latavius Murray today? I don't think Latavius Murray is the beneficiary. The biggest beneficiary of this is James Cook. I know none of you guys want to hear it. You don't want to hear me taking victory laps on James Cook, but like Latavius and Dameon Harris are fighting for that big back role. And if anyone was going to eat into James Cook's pass catching work, it was Nyheim Hines, who's profiled like that his entire career, caught a ton of balls in Indianapolis, was bizarrely underused in Buffalo after they acquired him in that trade last year. But he is the guy who would have threatened to be on the field in a lot of those passing situations. No one wants to hear it, but it's James Cook season. Neil says draft room fill rate is an under-discussed benefit to streaming. I ran 4 miles the other day before my room filled. Holy cow. I feel like you have to be exaggerating. A Best Ball Mania draft was taking that long to fill. I guess I literally have not registered for a main event or an underdog draft or a Best Ball Mania 4 draft other than being on stream. So I don't know anything other than these drafts snap filling. Charlie says we can all agree 109 is the worst draft slot this year. I think 8 and 9 are, right, because that's where Brown and Diggs go. Talking with Sean, talking with Gretsch, those guys have definitely got me on board with acknowledging that those guys are probably slightly overvalued picks, that they're kind of capitulation picks relative to the wide receiver thirst. I think Bijan should be going right after Eckler. So the one bonus of those slots, though, is you are getting 2 good picks when it comes back around in the second round. Whereas I think things get weaker when you come back in this middle range here. Like when you look at like the 2v2s even, I don't know. It's tough. I guess I don't feel super strongly about it. I just like because other than Travis Kelce, I have pretty smoothed out exposures to all of the first round players. I just like having options to build teams from all those different spots. So I still like doing the same one over and over again. But I honestly don't hate the back part of draft boards. Bronco says, I swear you get the 10, 11, 12, 75% of the time. Do you have a favorite draft spot? Yeah, that's what we were just talking about. I mean, I like having a top 2, right? I like getting Jefferson and Chase. I think I'm even with the field on those guys right now. What am I at with Jefferson? So I'm at 7.4%. So it means I'm slightly below expectation on my 101s. And then Jamar Chase, I'm at 8.4%. So I'm slightly above expectation on the 102. So as much as it feels like I'm not getting 101s and 102s, I am at a pretty average clip there with those. Chubb really going at the 1-2 turn now. Yeah, he's just a fixture there. Our guy Eagles called this. Eagles came on Best Ball After Dark a couple weeks ago and said Chubb is going to be a first round pick. He also said he's going to regularly go ahead of Bijan, which that was the part I struggled with. But man, he is right about Chubb being a 1-2 turn pick. That just is happening over and over again now. Is Body Spill going to make me take Josh Jacobs here? It does feel like one feather in the cap of Jacobs in this entire Raiders offense is, Jimmy Garoppolo not opening the season on PUP. I mean, a lot of the initial slide. Okay, Josh Jacobs does go there. Let's see here. What do I want to set up? I have nothing that I need to prioritize correlation wise. Is this a room where I could maybe get Herbert to slide back? I have so much Keenan. Let's do Debo here and see what comes back. It's weird. I have so much Keenan, but I don't have a ton of Herbert. Still even with the field on Herbert. Both Gibbs and Allen snap go there. We could continue to boost our Ridley if we want. We could also reach a little bit to do. One thing I've been trying to think about is I've been ending up with a ton of builds that involve the Niners and the Commanders, but a lot of that is through Dotson. So I have, 14% Dotson, less McLaurin. So a lot of my Debo stuff always comes pre-built with Dotson on it. So this is just like a little shift of, all right, I'm going to reach a little bit ahead of ADP to grab McLaurin here. Another kind of nice thing about that is outside of the week 17, Galaxy Brain correlation bros, just based on ADP, Debo and McLaurin don't end up on a lot of teams because Debo's more a fixture of the 3-4 turn and McLaurin is sliding more mid to late 4th. So going to make a little correlation / portfolio reach there. So through 4 rounds, we do a Bijan anchor and then 3 straight wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, Debo Samuel, Terry McLaurin. I will admit, I was thinking of doing a Gibbs pick there and doing a Bijan Gibbs start, but the turn didn't let him come back. The turn went Gibbs and Allen. And so then I decided, looking at this tier that I've said ad nauseum feels incredibly flat to me, Ridley, Watson, Judy, London, Hopkins, McLaurin. So going to dance around that tier, grab McLaurin, get a slightly different build here. And the real reason you do it is so you give yourself another excuse to select Sam Howell. That's the real reason I did it. Always got to keep the Sam Howell out to every single draft. Let me make this screen a little bit smaller here so you guys can see this full team here on the board. Bijan, Garrett Wilson, Debo, McLaurin. Anything else going interesting in this room? We have Joe Burrow go 29th overall to the Higgins drafter. Tell me this is your first draft without telling me it's your first draft. If you take Higgins at 29 when he's there at 44 every single time, but you'll learn. We got a badge bro going Eckler, Pollard, Allen start. Where did Mark Andrews going fairly early here? Egghead setting up the Hill Mark Andrews correlation. Hurts going unstacked at the 2-3 turn. Mahomes going to the chase drafter. Nothing too out of the ordinary right now. Wow, I did not see this. Hines got hit by a jet ski. That's awful. I hadn't seen the details of the news, just that he was out for the season. Man, I just assumed it was something at training camp. That is brutal. Man, and what sucks too is like a lot of those guys have things in their contract that prevent them from doing, I don't know what kind of technical language they use to describe it, extreme sports activities, doing go-karts, ATVs, snowboarding stuff too. Like you do wonder if there's any void stuff in his contract by that, if he was participating in it too. I don't know the story with it, but man, that is a huge bummer if he was out just, I don't know, wakeboarding, just having a nice day on the lake and some asshole runs into you. No good. No good. Lou, why did he go Burrow over Mahomes with Kelsey? That's actually a really good question. I guess because he was trying to give himself outs to both, right? This is kind of the thing where if you take, say, Diggs and Devonta Smith, and then you see, hey, maybe one of Allen or Hurts will come back. If you take Kelsey or Higgins, you're like, maybe there's a chance Mahomes falls. But if you do that, then you let Burrow come back to pick 44. But it's just a drafter who hasn't done a ton of drafts yet. Those are the things that you figure out when you do a million of these, that you don't have to worry about anyone behind you on the board taking. The only other person who's interested in him, Jamar Chase, you have him blocked on this side of the board. So you just let it go back. But not everyone is a sicko who's done 100 of these. So Justin Herbert does fall. That's funny. Of course, the time I don't get Keenan there. If I would have taken Keenan first, I would have gotten the fall there. Let's see here. So I'm not doing Herbert. We can talk about the Dobbins stuff. I think he shouldn't be falling much at all. We're just going to play my hits, and I'm going to keep boosting my JSN exposure for now. The thing about Dobbins is the stuff with him being placed on the PUP list, and I wrote about this for the Fantasy Life newsletter today, it's way more about his contract than it is about him not being recovered. It's been 23 months since the injury. He had multiple 100-yard games to end last season. So if drafters are going to start to panic about this because of the injury, which I don't think it actually has anything to do, I think he's just trying to do the holdout and the same thing Josh Jacobs and Barkley are doing, but I actually don't think they are going to stick to it that much. I've been doing a ton of the Lockett and JSN stuff lately, so I'm going to mix it up and get exposure to a guy I haven't been selecting a ton, Marquise Brown. Also consider grabbing Kyle Pitts, who I'm trying to boost my exposure to a bit, but I've been just still playing Kyle Pitts more from my first 6 draft slots because his ADP now at 68, puts him right here toward the middle of the 6th round. So I've been just trying to get deals on Kyle Pitts as opposed to reaching for him at the 5-6 turn. But if it's one of those spots where I'm only doing one draft, if I have one draft and my spot is from the 111, I'm taking Kyle Pitts there in the early 6th right now. But trying to pick my spots here as I build out the portfolio. So the team through 6 rounds, pretty classic anchor RB build here. Bijan at running back, Garrett Wilson, Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, JSN, and Marquise Brown at wide receiver. Jeez, man, tons of breaking news here. CJ Gardner carted off with a non-contact knee injury. We've officially arrived at that point where we are going to be getting injuries, actual pieces of news that legitimately affect team outlooks and then trickle down effect to our ADPs here as well. So man, I'm already bracing for it. I feel like in years past, the start of the season injuries have actually been pretty tame, all things considered. We had Tim Patrick last year. The year before that, we had the Cam Akers when Darrell Henderson really moved up. But man, if we can dodge some major injuries in the same way we have the past couple years, that would definitely be appreciated. Kyle Pitts does go at 65 here. That's a fun build. You got the anchor running back with JT in the second. You got 4 wide receivers and then Kyle Pitts. This room is definitely not a wide receiver avalanche. Fairly straightforward for these wide receiver ADPs, all things considered. Speaking of wide receiver avalanche, I have a new video in the can. This is going to be going up on the Deposit Kingdom YouTube channel. So that's the channel where I do all of the non-live stream content. That's where the Week 17 is all that matters video, the anatomy of $1 million lineup that I did earlier this offseason with Michael Dubner. We're going to have a new one. The video will be dropping later this week. It's called, naturally, How to Combat a Wide Receiver Avalanche. So looking at the meta in underdog draft rooms this summer, all of these crazy wide receiver rooms, and the tactics you can use to beat those avalanches. And it's basically, there's 3 different ways that I looked at it from various team constructions I've done. And so I think you guys will find that interesting. Not all rooms are the uber avalanches that mine are, but I think thinking through this lens will give you the tactics you need to combat these wide receiver heavy draft rooms. And especially if you're drafting on my streams or when Sean and I are in a draft and they get pretty wonky. So keep an eye out for that. Subscribe to the Deposit Kingdom YouTube channel. Put a lot of work into those videos, and I think you guys will very much enjoy this one coming out later this week. All right, we are about to pick at 7-11 here. Got some interesting options. This might be a spot to potentially take a running back I don't take a lot in Dameon Pierce. But what I'm going to do, so the Wise Pollock has done 3 running backs. I'm going to grab Quentin Johnston, who is in a tier by himself here for me, slides a few picks past ADP. Grab Quentin Johnston as my 6th wide receiver. And then I'm generally thinking about like the kind of detours I can make. And normally my other detour through 8 rounds is a tight end, maybe a quarterback. But in this one, depending on what Wise Pollock does, I am going to grab Dameon Pierce here, who I'm at 3.2%, but at this price at 86 as my 2nd running back. This is the exact kind of spots that I want to select these guys that I have some question marks with, that I'm going to overall be underweight in my portfolio, but I do not want to be full fading them. So this checks all the boxes here. I don't have any tight ends or quarterbacks that made sense for this team construction right now. I already got through 6 wide receivers. Yes, I like Treylon Burks, but I'm at 20% Treylon Burks. So I can sit that one out and use this as an opportunity to get Dameon Pierce 16 picks past ADP. So that's how I want to be getting my exposure to a guy like Dameon Pierce when my construction and the individual room kind of push me to enjoy that value slide. Because normally when I am looking at running backs in the 8th round, the wide receivers are off the board and it's more this James Conner, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook range. So it's a pleasant surprise to look up and be like, oh, Dameon Pierce is here. He's never here. Let's go ahead and grab a share. And then you do see Rachaad White, Pacheco, James Cook, James Conner snap, fall off the board. Chris saying, do you think there's even a slight chance the running backs hold out? I really don't. I think it's all posturing. I think it's all saving face. It's frustrating for these guys. The Dobbins situation, he's still playing on the final year of his rookie contract. His salary this year is $1.39 million. Patrick Laird's making $1 million this year. We talked to Patrick Laird on Friday. Patrick Laird's making $1 million this year. JK Dobbins is making $1.39 million. That's 24th amongst all running backs, and he's frustrated about it. He knows, as someone who missed a full season, who is playing at a very chaotic position, that there's lots of risks to him getting injured again and not ever being able to get a real significant contract in his NFL career. And so the problem is he has no leverage. He has no leverage whatsoever. The whole reason the Ravens bring in Melvin Gordon, it's not because they're worried about Dobbins not being healthy. It's because they're basically calling his bluff and being like, you're going to come back to camp. And if not, we have bodies here. So it's a tough spot. And I think the same thing for Jacobs and Barkley, who are set to make 10 plus million this year. Those guys are not turning down those paychecks. There's no way those guys aren't collecting their $10 million plus in salary this year. So no, I do not think there's actually any holdout risk. If you guys want additional opinions on this, after this show, ADP Chasing weekly show over on the Ship Chasing YouTube channel hosted by Sam Sherman, Davis Maddock, and Pat Corain, they're going to walk through all three of those main potential holdout risks. Maybe those guys have different takes on it than me. They also are moving their show back to 12:30 next week because we are going a little later today because we're squeezing in that extra draft there. So at 12:30, hop over to ADP Chasing and they will dig deeper into these potential contract holdouts. All right, we are about to pick at 9:11. We have 0 quarterbacks right now. We got 2 running backs, Bijan and Dameon Pierce. Our wide receivers looking good. Garrett Wilson, Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, JSN, Marquise Brown, and Quentin Johnston. Can go a couple different avenues here. I certainly like a couple of these running backs. Let's see. Do we think Wise Pollock here would take Njoku? So I do think I want Njoku. I need a tight end here. He's at ADP. He correlates both in week 17 with my Garrett Wilson share and in week 16 with my Dameon Pierce. And because I like both Charbonnet and Perine, and I don't think Wise Pollock is going to double tap 2 running backs and get to 6 running backs here, I will let Wise Pollock decide which of these running backs I take. And then we will continue to push quarterback here with all kinds of viable options at quarterback. Kyler, Geno, Sam Howell, Brock Purdy, Aaron Rodgers. Could even do something with CJ Stroud and Ritter if I want to build that out. He goes Juju and Romeo Dobbs. We have 2 different kind of correlation options. We can build out our Seattle bet with Charbonnet and JSN, or we can play Perine with, let's do Perine. Even though we have positive Javonte news, I still have a lot of confidence that Perine is a good standalone pick. And I'm very excited that Javonte Williams isn't starting the season on PUP. I think that's very, very bullish news for him. Just the fact that there's 0 concerns whatsoever. His ADP is going to start to move. I've packed a decent amount of bags there at 13.7, but I'm not going to stop selecting Perine, especially if kind of a gap starts to widen between them. I think you can make the case that Javonte should be steamed up now into the 5th, 6th round. I don't think that's crazy. And maybe we get Perine sliding. Maybe that would have been a reason not to take Perine here, being like, hey, you're going to start to catch a slide. Wait to get cheaper Perine. But I thought it was close there. And because I have so much Charbonnet, I decided to balance out a little bit there with Perine. And I do have the Quentin Johnston week 17 play there. So through 10 rounds, up to 3 running backs, Bijan, Dameon Pierce, Perine, wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, Deebo Samuel, McLaurin, JSN, Marquise Brown, Quentin Johnston, and we did add David Njoku at tight end. So set up here pretty well structurally, looking like I will be doing one of my classic Pete bullshit 3 quarterback builds, but it is what it is. IO says, think you said this before, but Perine totally fits what Peyton loves to do with pass catching running backs. Yeah, I just think too with Perine, there's so many outs to him hitting, right? I think the outs to him destroying his ADP and just being a massive win is injury related, right? It's Javonte Williams not being ready, getting dinged up again, missing time, and then you get bell cow back Perine because there's no one else on that running back depth chart. That's the path to him smashing, but there's also paths to him just being a small win kind of guy where he does have high value touches in a standalone role. He's going to catch some passes. If they're doing 2-minute drill stuff, he's not the kind of back you have to take out at the goal line or in down and distance stuff. He has a versatile skill set that can be used in a bunch of different scenarios. So I think he can just be used in the same way Sean Payton has always liked to use two running backs. You know, if they're using kind of a split thing where Javonte's getting 65% of the work and Perine's getting 35%, if the Denver Broncos offense is better this year, like I am drafting them to be, then Perine can definitely pay off that draft cost with a couple spike weeks and just some solid standalone production there. And that is definitely, I think, a difference between how I view Charbonnet and Perine. I think the paths to Charbonnet, you know, if there's an injury, I think it's just, you know, Charbonnet is going to return like second round value if something happens to Walker. So that's the kind of bull case for him. But I'm not as excited about Charbonnet's standalone role as I am Perine's, because I do think they will lean heavily on Walker for as long as he's healthy. Whereas I could see the Broncos have more of a true committee kind of setup with Perine and Javonte. Yes, ice cream, yum, yum. Yum, 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 yum. Yeah, that's going to be my pivot when best ball streaming doesn't work out. We become an ice cream, yum, yum girl. All right. So let's see here. What quarterbacks do we have? Russell Wilson going at 126. The Jameson Williams drafter, who also took Burrow early, stacks up Jared Goff. That's definitely early for Russell Wilson, but they had the Cortland Sutton. Sutton at 102 isn't a bad price for sure. Tyler Boyd going ahead of Sutton. See, this was the drafter we were talking about, Dave the Champ here. When you start to make those reaches, it really compounds. Am I going to get Geno here? Nice. Okay, Geno at 131 feels really nice. We might just end up double tapping quarterback here. See if Wise Pollock takes Rodgers, but I don't think there's anything else this will get me off of. If there was a pick I really wanted to make here, I could make the case because I have Purdy late, because I have Kyler as an option, although Kyler's gotten more expensive now. I'm trying to see if I can talk myself out of not selecting Rodgers here, but I think I want to select Rodgers. He's obviously not going to come back to 155. The other bonus here, Cleveland does play Washington as well. So I am building out that week 16 stack with McLaurin. They play my Njoku here. Also, Rodgers has a couple of those options late to round out the double stack. So we're going to just go ahead and grab Rodgers. This is kind of similar to what happened when I drafted with Ron on Friday night, where we got both Trevor Lawrence and Geno Smith at pretty extreme values. And when I'm essentially punting QB to get these quarterbacks that normally cost more at these prices, it definitely makes the team feel stronger here. So we do double tap quarterbacks at that 11-12 turn. Geno Smith stacked up with JSN, Aaron Rodgers stacked up with Garrett Wilson. And then our running backs, Bijan, Dameon Pierce, Samaje Perine, wide receivers, Wilson, Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, JSN, Marquise Brown, Quentin Johnston, tight end, David Njoku. Feeling good about this build. And I think I will have flexibility if I get a really good deal on a Purdy or something like that. I think I could get to a third quarterback if I wanted to. But otherwise, I think because of the balance with this build, I will be able to kind of spend luxury picks on best player available. I mean, you could make the case that I stop at wide receiver here, that I just only do 6. I think that would be fine. But if I have a double stacking thing, say I end up wanting Mecole Hardman, I don't think that would be bad. I think because I have an anchor Bijan Robinson, I could stop at 5 running backs, but if I got to 6 or something, that wouldn't be bad. With David Njoku, I think I could stop at 2 tight ends if I wanted. Like if I did a Njoku, Tyler Conklin, I think that's fine. But I'm going to have additional picks to spend, you know, because I have more than just getting to 5 running backs, 6 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. So we will be able to navigate this board pretty well, I think, based on how this stuff is going. What's the browser extension you use for playoff schedule and exposures? That is the Brick Draft Caddy. If you go to thedraftcaddy.com, you can get that overlay. It is a Chrome extension. It's also available for Mozilla. It also works on other sites as well, DraftKings, Drafters, all of that good stuff. Thedraftcaddy.com. Phil's got me here. Who is this year's Dameon Pierce? So if we're going to do that, it would be a running back that drafters are not interested in early in the offseason because they're on a bad team, but the path to being the lead back is there. And then they shoot up due to preseason and everyone being like, holy cow, that's the starting running back. Why aren't we selecting that guy earlier? So last year, Dameon Pierce, like on King Capital's team, where he won the regular season prize, I believe he selected Dameon Pierce in the 12th or 13th round. And then the closing line value was like a 6th round pick. So who fits that criteria? Because he did not need an injury to make that jump, I do think you need an ambiguous depth chart. So I would say the two candidates for me, based on his ADP range, would be Kendre Miller or Roschon Johnson, two guys from ambiguous backfields that could make a huge leap if people get confidence that they're the lead back. Say the Kamara suspension comes down, Kendre's tearing up camp. I could see that happening. Same with Roschon. Say they say Deontay Foreman's dusted. This new regime loves Roschon. Khalil Herbert's on the back burner. Those would be the two I could see happening while using that criteria of going in a very similar range to where Dameon Pierce was before his rise. All right. Definitely nothing I'm doing with quarterback in this range. We could consider Gerald Everett here, 7 picks past ADP if he falls. I think that's kind of interesting building out this Chargers Denver bet. Let's see what Wise Pollock does here. He has a 1-5-5-1 build. So yeah, Pollock would definitely take Everett if I let him slide. So this is one of those spots where I do really like Kendre. Obviously, I'm still selecting him here, but because he continues to slide in drafts, and I know Wise Pollock is already at 5 running backs and also interested in Everett, and I kind of like Everett for this build because I'm probably going to get to 3 tight ends anyway, so the bye week bros don't get upset at me. I'm going to select Gerald Everett here with Njoku, 7 picks past ADP, and then we'll see if Kendre comes back. I don't think I would do Singletary and Dameon Pierce on the same team. The price for that isn't absurd, but I would prefer not to because I do think the Singletary smash stuff is definitely win in the scenarios where Dameon Pierce gets hurt. So yeah, Kendre does come back, and I am very, very happy to select Kendre Miller at pick 158. I think Doom was asking me in the chat earlier how I'm handling Kendre. I am buying the dip. I'm going to continue to hammer him in this range here. I don't really think anything has changed for me. I think this is the market kind of double counting things we already knew. So I don't know why we're punishing Kendre for this. The full thesis for Kendre, getting starts when Alvin Kamara is suspended, still having the most interesting profile on the team as far as a guy who could break out down the stretch. Nothing's changed for me there. And so I'm not going to be taking him ahead of ADP. That's how I will control my exposures on him. But Kendre at pick 158 as a 4th running back with Bijan, Dameon Pierce, and Samaje Perine. Sign me up every single time here. What were the votes? It looks like you guys are all saying Roschon here. See, Charbonnet doesn't. So you got to use the specific criteria if we're saying this year's Dameon Pierce. Charbonnet has an established back in front of him. Dameon Pierce didn't. So that's why I think the Roschon and Kendre are better comparisons. And you can say Kamara is established or whatever, but because of the suspension risk, I do think that opens up the ambiguity there. Yes, B-Spurf, we talked about Nyheim Hines a little bit. Dave says, Pete, do you have a favorite late round target jet to mix in with A-Rod, a fave comeback from Browns that goes late round? I mean, both of those teams have a lot of like option flyers. I think Hardman and Conklin are generally who I gravitate to. I don't even think Corey Davis is necessarily bad. But I don't like Corey Davis on wide receiver heavy builds. I want a guy who if I'm taking a 7th wide receiver in a draft where I, got 6 through 90 picks like I did here, I want a little bit more upside there. I think Davis makes more sense where you have like a hyper fragile build and you're needing to make up for your lack of quality with quantity. And then you're using the correlation as another tiebreaker to make other picks on the board more attractive than they would be in a vacuum. And then as far as the Jets, I haven't been doing a lot of Cedric Tillman, and DPJ tends to always go a little earlier than I'm comfortable with. So for me, the last kind of Brown that I generally feel comfortable with is Jerome Ford. He's really the guy that I like tacking on with Jets and Brown stuff. And it's also interesting because anecdotally, it feels like Ford is falling more in draft rooms. I did a couple, what was it, the Pomeranian the other day or whenever that closed, and Ford was falling in my drafts. I guess he goes 3 picks after ADP here, but it's interesting that we saw a real big steam up with both Jaylen Warren and Jerome Ford, and Warren kind of settled much higher at 135, and Jerome Ford slid back down to earth to 170. So I kind of like these prices on Jerome Ford, and especially if you have Deshaun Watson or Aaron Rodgers builds. So I'll have to figure out now how I want to start to spend some of these luxury picks. We have 4 more picks right now, and we're at a 2-4-6-2 build. So tons of flexibility here with this setup. Geno Smith, Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, Bijan, Dameon Pierce, Samaje Perine, Kendre Miller at running back, wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, JSN, Marquise Brown, Quentin Johnston, tight ends, David Njoku, and Gerald Everett. Seeing some of these picks here. Yeah, I have a few different guys that I like a lot in this range, and I can go in a couple of different directions here. I was going to take Tajay Spears if Tajay fell. Now running back, this tier of running back has been kind of wiped out. So I'm probably looking at waiting and kind of doing a real true flyer for a 5th running back. What I do think I'm going to do is grab Brock Purdy here. I'm going to play Brock Purdy. I'm going to get to a 3 quarterback build. He's 7 picks past ADP. And now it gives me 3 different stacks in through the playoff gauntlet, which I appreciate. They're all skinny stacks right now. Geno to JSN, Aaron Rodgers to Garrett Wilson, Brock Purdy with Debo, but we do have bringbacks on 2 of those. We don't have any Pittsburgh bringback. That didn't really break right for me to get the Pittsburgh bringback. I would have had to have taken Jaylen Warren over Aaron Rodgers earlier in the draft if I wanted to force that. And I have so much Warren that I decided not to push that specifically, but I can live without that bring back. And then what I am going to do here, because this is a pretty flat range, I'm just going to reach for Conklin to get that double stack with Rodgers. I'm even with the field right now with Conklin, but makes so much sense on Rodgers builds. I did want to get to a 3rd tight end anyways here, and I just don't see anything else really jumping out to me on this board. So we double tap onesies here, and now we're at a 3-4-6-3 build. Geno, Aaron Rodgers, Brock Purdy, running backs, Bijan, Dameon Pierce, Samaje Perine, Kendre Miller, wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, JSN, Marquise Brown, Quentin Johnston. And now we can kind of, with these last picks, one of them is for sure a running back, and maybe I do 2 kind of like 0 RB flyers to get to 6 running backs. One thing I've been thinking about, as much as I love Kendre Miller, Sean, I think, really smartly reminded me the other day, like, we still need to make sure that these Kendre teams are getting to the playoffs. And if you're not balancing that out with a little bit more front-loaded production, you are at risk of having some really thin wide receiver rooms or running back rooms early that could get supercharged too late, essentially. Now, I think the counter here is my first 3 running backs. I feel really, really good about their projectable volume out of the gate. Like, I think Bijan, Dameon Pierce, and Samaje Perine are all going to be seeing the ball a lot early. But this is feeling a little thin as a 5 running back room. So we might end up going 2 running backs and ending up with a pretty funky 3-6-6-3 build there. But I just don't see anything that I need to force at wide receiver here. Feel really good with those 6 wide receivers through 83. If I'm forgetting a guy, I guess it would be basically, do I want to kind of onslaught the Jets and tack on Hardman with Wilson and Conklin. That would be really the other decision point. The people want A-Rob. A-Rob makes no sense on this team. A-Rob, it's the same thing as like the Corey Davis thing. If you have the teams where you need that production and you need the body, I would much prefer Allen Robinson in a Kenny Pickett or Geno build where you went hyper fragile or you had 4 running backs through 10 rounds and you are spraying and praying late. If Allen Robinson is ever cracking this lineup over Garrett Wilson, Deebo Samuel, McLaurin, JSN, Marquise Brown, Quentin Johnson, this team's already dead. I cannot get on board with an argument that Allen Robinson is the guy you need weeks 15 through 17. I'm pretty fluid, pretty Bayesian in being willing to update my priors, but you are not going to get me on Allen Robinson being the guy you need 15 to 17. And if he's not the guy I need 15 to 17, then you're asking me to lock in production weeks 1 through 14 that I do not need with this current wide receiver room. H Plays likes this one. This is the team. $50 for it? Man, I could just completely just double up. Should I do that? Should I just sell all my teams for $50? Just have a nice little ROI in Best Ball Mania this year and just move along. Move along, move along. Little All-American rejects for you. I do think just to do, we're not doing any more quarterbacks. I did do another 4 tight end build with Ron on Friday night. This is not the team, I believe, for a 4 tight end build. Let's see if there's any other kind of correlation things I should consider as I take some deep running back flyers. I do want to, I'm at 0% Zamir White, which again, I'm on record of thinking Josh Jacobs is not going to miss any time, but the market might soon react to this as they get spooked. We saw Josh Jacobs falling. By necessity, if the market is pushing Jacobs down, someone has to be the beneficiary of that push-pull. So I will grab a Zamir White share. He's a guy I should probably start mixing in if he moves up, and I get him here at 203, already 8 picks past ADP. So that seems to make sense. No correlation with Indianapolis, but makes a decent amount of sense for this running back room. And then I think I am going to grab another guy that I've just been hitting a ton when I am looking to round out running back. And a lot of these guys, I don't necessarily feel confident in their role. Pure Strong, we have nothing with Buffalo. Izzy, if I wanted to build out that Jets bet. But Trayveon Williams is the guy here that I've been starting to scoop up a bit. I do really think that he's going to end up being the number 2 there. And he kind of fits this idea of, could Chase Brown's role expand by the end of the year? I think totally. But if I'm trying to get some more early season production, I do think Trayvion's going to be the guy who is spelling Mixon early as kind of Chase Brown gets more comfortable. We've just seen the Bengals be very slow to bring along these rookies. And I think they love their veterans in the same way Perine was homegrown in their system. So's been Trayveon. And I do really think he's going to be the beneficiary there. So Zamir White and Trayveon Williams, there's not a lot of guys I really feel comfortable taking late at running back yet. And I do think that's going to change in the coming weeks. We're going to get more confidence on some of these backfield situations, but I am going to remain pretty picky. Right now, you can see I have pretty low exposure on all of these super flyer running backs. So this team is in the books, a 3-6-6-3 here. Geno Smith, Aaron Rodgers, Brock Purdy at quarterback, Bijan Robinson, Dameon Pierce, Samaje Perine, Kendre Miller, Zamir White, Trayveon Williams. So basically like a 0 RB-ish room, but with the Bijan anchor there, which is nice. And then wide receiver, Garrett Wilson, Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, JSN, Marquise Brown, Quentin Johnston. Got 6 wide receivers through 83 and then just took the foot off the gas. I wasn't completely opposed to a 7th wide receiver if it made sense at any points in the draft, but did not see any junctures there where I felt compelled to take the 7th. And also just with the kind of teams that I was building, the Seattle doesn't have any viable wide receivers after JSN. Hardman, really the only viable wide receiver, and I had already double stacked him with Conklin, and then Brock Purdy. I mean, all the wide receiver stuff after Kittle and Ayuk come off the board, there's nothing there. So this ended up being more of a skinny stack team, which I certainly don't mind. So this team here is in the books. We're going to bring on Sackreligious here in a second. As a reminder for how this show is going to flow today, draft number 97 is in the books. We're about to talk with Sackreligious about his best ball dateable submission. He's had a couple really interesting articles out lately as well over on Spike Week for those of you guys super in the weeds on best ball tournament strategy. So excited to talk to him. Then after Sackreligious drops off, we are going to multi-table drafts number 98 and 99. I will tip people off in the Discord when I register for those. I'll snap register for those. So there will theoretically be up to 22 spots available depending on how quickly those rooms fill. And then we'll relax and do draft 100 with the ducks being fed. We're not going to feed the ducks during the multi-table. I think I need a more chaotic energy. Maybe we could go look in the hopper and see if there's music that fits the frantic energy of a multi-table better. But let me name this team here. Make sure I'm keeping all of my housekeeping settled. 97 BBB 3663 Seattle New York Jets SF. Oh, it's always beautiful when the characters fit. 30 of 30, you're able to fit in all three of those. All right. Without further ado, it's Sackreligious. You guys know him from the Best Ball Streets, from his Spike Week articles, from appearing here earlier on the channel, and also breaking news as one of the new co-hosts of Stat Chasing, an in-season show over on Ship Chasing that he's going to be hosting with Dricko out this season. Sackreligious, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Pete. Good morning.
Yeah, how have things been going since we last talked? It's probably been at least a month plus. How's the drafting season been treating you?
It's going well. You know, I'm using Pacer Pete to really make sure that I'm on track to get my BBMs in. I think I just did BBM 99 yesterday. Felt pretty good about that one. Felt like it might be a magic number. I don't know. But yeah, feeling good. Getting the volume down I need to.
I love that because I've been getting lots of comments about people being like, I'm ahead of your pace, I need to slow down, or I'm behind, I need to catch up. I did my draft with Ron Stewart on Friday, and he was only at like 34. I was like, buddy, you better catch up here. You're gonna have a busy August.
Yeah, his August is gonna be slammed, man. If he's trying to max, that's a lot.
So the reason I specifically wanted to bring you on, and granted, I would love to chop it up about best ball with you all the time, but specifically right now, we have the best ball dateable that is closing at the end of the month. We've had some submissions start to trickle in, some really cool submissions. We talked to Dylan last week, and I think it's going to be a pretty competitive environment here as far as the type of submissions we're seeing, but I've had high hopes for yours. I've gotten a preview of some of the things you've been working on here. So I just want to let you set the stage, tell the people what you've been working on, because I even believe when we last talked, you had kind of multiple ideas and avenues of stuff you were going to maybe tackle.
Yeah, honestly, the whole process has been such a blessing. I feel like I've gotten so much better at all of the different skills that I needed for making a dateable submission. So it's been really fun. I eventually landed on the submission that I'm going to do here. Let me see. Can I share my screen?
Yeah.
Let's figure this one out.
Yeah. The chat while you're getting this pulled up is saying that they all see you in all of their drafts on all the sites. So you must have been blasting off lately.
Yeah. I got a lot of volume I got to get down, man. All right, let's go ahead and try this. Okay. Is that screen visible?
It is. Yes.
All right, great. I'm not boomering it here. Okay, so the title of this project is Why Advance Rate is Broken, but Don't Worry, I Fixed It. And there's nothing more that people love than watching someone read from text on a screen. So I'm not going to make you guys sit through that this morning. I'll try and give like the abbreviated version, but basically the current version of advance rate that we all use to look at how good did player X versus player Y perform in best ball last season has a lot of bias that we mix in there and a lot of noise that kind of muddies the signal. Just because certain team constructions might be more or less likely to have players appear on them, if that makes sense. Like a 0 RB team might have a disproportionate amount of certain 0 RB running back targets, where people going robust RB might have less of those. And so because of that, you end up with these players kind of clumped together on similar rosters or with similar combinations. And that actually does a lot of work in the advance rate. for example, let me pull up here. The second thing people love more than watching someone read from text on screen is reading a CSV file. So, like for example, here we can see Sky Moore. Sky Moore actually. Oh yeah, let's zoom here. Thank you. Good call. Where's my? Oh, we're boomering it. I'm not in CSV all the time.
It's all good. And by the way, just to let people know, so the Dateable submissions are due by the end of the month, and then we are going to huddle up. We're going to be working with Sam Hoppin as a judge to kind of figure out our finalists, and then we will reach back out to the finalists and have some shows where everyone kind of presents their final teams here. But all right, we got the Zoom situation figured out. What were you saying about Sky Moore?
So, like, for example, Sky Moore was like the second stone worst pick in best ball last season. His real advance rate was 12%, but the difference between his reported advance rate and his roster agnostic advance rate, which is just effectively I'm swapping every single player onto every single roster and rerunning all of the pods and testing them. And so it's a way to remove the bias by basically increasing the sample size for the number of teams a player occurs on from 37,600 all the way up to 451,200. And so you get all those different textures in there. There's a couple different things I've included in the methodology to kind of make sure that we don't end up with any weird, noisy stuff going on. Like, for example, the player has to get swapped with a player within a certain ADP range of them. The player also can only be swapped with a player that shares their position. I was trying it with just it being totally position agnostic, and you end up with some really wonky stuff for teams that did like anchor Travis Kelce at tight end. And then it's like, whoops, I don't have a tight end. Now I just swapped someone for Kelce. The advance rate looks really bad now. But anyway, you can see.
I just want, just so I understand it. So when you were saying for this RAR thing and removing the bias, is that because what you're essentially doing is just explain that to me, because I'm having a hard, how is that removing the bias specifically?
Yeah, good question. Let me go at it here and just read it a little bit. We're just going to read text off a screen, man. Okay, so roster agnostic advance rate is a new, more accurate method of determining the impact an individual player had on the ability of a team to advance to the playoffs. By swapping a specific player onto each team and recalculating the advance rate one team at a time, we're able to remove many of the biases that currently plague advance rate. We choose the player we want to calculate RAR for and iterate through each draft ID, adding the player to one team at a time in each 12-team draft and removing the player on the target roster that was selected with the pick closest to the ADP of the player we are swapping onto the team, provided those two players are the same position. We then recalculate the weekly score for this team and test to see if the team would have advanced with the player that we are calculating RAR for. We repeat this process for each team in the 12-team draft. No swaps required for the team that already has the target player. We then repeat this process for each draft ID in BBM3.
So tell me if I'm correct. We could also call this the Eno Benjamin solution, which is a couple years ago, Eno Benjamin had a super high advance rate, even though he didn't do anything all season long. And it was because the type of drafters that were selecting him were 0 RB drafters, sharper drafters. And so that's self-selecting a draft cohort that's already going to perform better than average. And you're saying I'm able to remove this out and pull out these good drafters target this player. And I'd like to think a lot of good drafters were targeting Sky Moore. And you're saying giving us a more holistic approach about what this player added to teams.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. So for Sky Moore, I think that it was kind of twofold. It's number one, he was paired with Mahomes a ton, right? And then number two, it's because good drafters were targeting him. So you have this confluence of factors that gives him basically double the advance rate that he should have had. I mean, Sky Moore was like right in there with Kenny Golladay for like what advance rate he should have had. Like these were stone real bad picks. And then if we go ahead and let's look at people with a little better RAR. So like Josh Jacobs, someone we really expect to be at the top of roster agnostic advance rate. He actually did have a negative differential, which means that the teams that were drafting Josh Jacobs ended up being slightly weaker overall. if you just slotted him into any old roster, he's going to be better. Travis Kelce has a unique interaction, and I think part of it, this is just a little bit of a flaw in the methodology. There's some stuff that I found just in exploring this project where I can make future improvements and iterate on it. But I think Travis Kelce and like some of the onesie positions are really unique in that when you swap them, number one, there's not always a viable target to swap with because there's not someone within ADP range. There's not someone that shares the position. Yeah. So if there is someone within ADP range, it's probably that someone took a tight end way too early. And so, of course, Travis Kelce is going to have a big improvement on that team if someone took a tight end way too early that was not named Travis Kelce.
So this is very, very cool stuff. And I think also kind of the next generation of what best ball data research needs to do. And I think Leone did this a bit in his manifesto where he ran the game stack environments in every single week and reran it as if every single week was week 17. Because then you get everyone coming out, well, if the Bengals Bills get, it's like, no, these stacking principles apply in an agnostic way across all of these weeks. So drilling down, pulling out the noise, the small sample aspect of it, and being able to sim it in that way, I think is really, really fascinating. My next question for you is then how is this actionable? How do we apply this to our current drafting? Because a lot of this is descriptive in nature looking back at it, and it is very interesting, but is there stuff we can apply to our 2023 drafts?
Yeah, absolutely. The reason that I liked this project was because if you are currently looking at and thinking about advance rate as, oh, this is an important thing, then this is inherently important because this is just a better version of advance rate. Like if you're saying advance rate matters, then this inherently matters. And then one of the other parts of the project here, we're also calculating average player points added, which is another new metric that follows a similar player swapping methodology. And it compares players that were being selected in a similar ADP range to help measure which picks were actually the best at given points in drafts. And so, for example, like a player that comes up for this, Gabe Davis was the best pick far and away where he was being selected because everyone that was around Gabe Davis was like Allen Robinson and other total dust balls. And so even though people felt like, oh, Gabe Davis, he didn't do enough for me. It's like, actually, Gabe Davis was the best click you could have made there without deviating wildly from ADP. And there's lots of good research about why deviating wildly from ADP isn't necessarily a good thing to do very often. So I really like this average player points added metric that I'm doing as well. And so I think that you can use both of these new metrics more like a player archetype exploration type process. And then just for people that would like data that's actually readable, here's just the first two rounds of last year. This top chart is the difference between advance rate and roster agnostic advance rate. So a positive value means the player actually did better than reported in normal advance rate. A negative value means they actually did worse than reported. And then this is the percentage difference. They're basically going to show the same thing here. And then this last one is the roster agnostic advance rate. And I love that. Where's my Najee Harris? Yeah, Najee Harris is down here. Like with DeAndre Swift missed damn near the whole season, and him and Najee Harris are basically the same. It's fantastic.
Well, one thing that kind of crystallized, and tell me if you think this is a fair interpretation of, in your Gabe Davis example, it's like a reminder of how much of best ball isn't just getting the league winning picks, but avoiding the league losing picks, the like true knives that just or detonate your entire roster. And it also goes back to that, axiom of like small miss, small win, big miss, big win stuff, where it's like sometimes taking the single and avoiding the even riskier players around it is an optimal strategy, where I know a lot of us get caught up in like swing for the fences. This is a massive contest. We need to be, hitting home runs, but sometimes it's just avoiding in the same way we avoid the dead roster spots at the end of the draft early in draft season. Would you say that's a way to apply it?
Yeah, 100%. And the data bears that out too. There's only 15 players with a positive roster agnostic advance rate to traditional advance rate differential. And that just means that really not a ton of players outperformed enough that they were going to be able to make a big enough difference on teams that were bottom 10 teams compared to top 2 teams that were already advancing, if that makes sense. Because for a team to actually vault and improve the advance rate for a specific target player, they're having to beat out 2 teams that were already advancing. So you're selecting for strong teams. So players that have a positive differential, it means these guys were crushers. Like they were selected in a range in the draft where they didn't bust and everyone else did. And most of those top 15 players come in the very early rounds of drafts. And I think that speaks a lot to the value of not busting on your early picks. One of the only players that comes from later rounds is Christian Watson, because he delivered so many spike weeks for so cheap relatively, that he was able to sneak in there with some of these absolute crushers. Like, I mean, CMC, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, all these guys were just crushing. You know, if your team had one of these on it, these guys were doing some serious heavy lifting. Like, to get up to a 10% differential is enormous, because that means that you're taking a team that was, you know, likely a bottom 10 team, and they're now beating a top 2 team just with the swap of this player. Like, that's some serious heavy lifting.
Do you think that this is also a validation of tier-based drafting too, when you're thinking about players within a tier and being like, all of these guys have similar probabilities of this range of outcomes, but maybe one has more risk or one has more upside? Like, because it does seem like if you are comparing within ADP ranges, it is really the opportunity cost of the cohort of picks you're passing up on to select a specific player.
Yeah, that's a really good way to frame it. I hadn't thought about it that way. I had more just been thinking about it as like, we're respecting the market. There's a lot of historical data that shows that the market is better than any one individual person. And I really view best ball as a market game. And so that's kind of the approach that I take with it. But I think that you framed it in a really good way there. It definitely, you know, is a win for tier-based drafting.
Well, Sackreligious, some incredible stuff. I'm excited to dig through the full submission. And I should also say, once Sackreligious gets this uploaded, one of the beauties of the Best Ball Datable is all of these submissions are publicly available. They're in a public GitHub repository. You can go through, scroll through, read them. There's still one that came in over the weekend that I haven't gotten a chance to check out that I'm excited to see. So we will be having some more shows and content about these. And I can't wait, Sackreligious, to see the finishing touches on what looks to be a very promising submission.
Hey, thanks, Pete. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we will catch you later here. Sackreligious, you can find him in the Discord, the Deposit Kingdom Discord, as Carter is asking for here. The link is in the show notes, and our producers here will get the Deposit Kingdom link. But yes, as Carter is saying, tons of good conversation going. We, of course, have the private Discords for YouTube members on Ship Chasing and Best Ball Breakfast here, but we also have the NFL Best Ball channel, all kinds of good combo going there. So Sackreligious, we will catch you soon, and we'll also catch you over on Stat Chasing on the Ship Chasing channel this summer, this season. Looking forward to that.
Hey, me too. Thanks, Pete.
All right, we'll see ya. All right, awesome stuff there from our guy Sackreligious. And I'll include, I need to get his, he's not on Twitter, but I need to get his link to his Spike Week articles. Has done a couple really interesting pieces. I actually should have asked him about all my 3 quarterback builds, because I know he's anti 3 quarterback builds. I actually had an interesting thing to bring up with him on that, but we'll take care of that another time here. And we are going to get all situated here, because I need some more iced coffee. We need to find some appropriate music, because we're going to save the Feed the Ducks for the last draft. And I need to find some music here for these next 2 drafts that I'm going to do. So what kind of music could we get here? Could we get, is it like a night driving? I need something with some energy. I think it's dance pop. I think this is it for the multi-draft right here. All right. How are we feeling about this? Are we ready? We just talked to Sackreligious, draft 97 in the books, and now we're about to multi-table 2 Best Ball Mania drafts. 2 drafts. I have not done 2 drafts at the same time yet. This is my first time attempting this. Could be awful. Could be awesome. We're about to find out here. We are about to find out. I am registered for these drafts. I've tipped off the Discord. There are spots now, no longer any spots. These drafts have both filled. Let's see if we can get set up now. I will be doing a window tab this time, because we're going to be toggling back and forth between 2 rooms. We got the What are our two drafts? The 112 classic and the 1-7. So at least at different portions of the board here. All right. Let's get the banner going. Drafts 98 and 99. The music's going. And where's my overlay? This is going to be chaotic. I'm already like, how are we doing here? Okay. All right. So we're about to be picking from the 112. The 1-7 draft is slower. This draft is already ripping here. What are we going to do from the 112? So I just did the Bijan Garrett Wilson. I've been wanting to boost up my Waddle. Sean's starting to get me very excited about Waddle. I also think we could do some Davante Adams now that some of that risk, but we're just gonna have some fun here. I have a feeling these are gonna be a little bit more piss boy rooms. So we're gonna start Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle on the first draft. Man, I'm gonna have my work cut out for me servicing all of the audio listeners across two drafts. Your boy is about to have to perform here. Can't just get lazy. Do we take Eckler or do we take Kelsey at 1-6? Eckler, let's do Eckler from the 1-7. I don't mind staying underweight on my... There isn't going to be as much board showing in this draft because one thing when I do the board show, I don't see in my tabs when I'm up next. Although actually, I think I can balance that. I think there's a way for me to balance that. So we'll show this board. We're picking in a while here. We just picked at the turn Garrett Wilson and Jalen Waddle. We're going to be picking in the middle of this round here. All right. It shouldn't be this hard, but for some reason it is. And we're going to ratchet up the degree of difficulty and get us some more cold brew while we're at it. Do we need, is the music, how's the music levels? Do we need less music or more music? Less music or more? The music is very controversial. Some people just hate it. I can't listen to these streams with this music. And it's like, well, it sounds like you keep listening to the stream because you keep commenting about it. But then some of you love it. Some of you just need the bangers. See, exactly. More music, far less. Every single time. Every single time. All right, the chat's saying the music's maybe a smidge too loud. I'm here to be a man of the people, to give you the music you want. All right, we brought it down 5 decibels or whatever denomination. All right, we're about to pick here from the 1-7 draft here at 2-6. We started Austin Eckler. I did an Eckler Jonathan Taylor team with Eagles the other day. KZ does take him. What do we want to do? Is this a room where I can mess around? Now, this is... I was like, should we do an Eckler Pollard team? But we gotta see how these rooms develop first here before we get too crazy. What's gonna happen is when these two drafts get synced up and the picks are being made at the same time, that's when it gets nuts. So in the 112 draft where we started Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, we're at 3-1. And in the draft where we started Austin Eckler and Chris Olave from the 7-hole, we have about 12 picks. So right now we have about 10 to 12 picks before each of these. So these drafts are going to start to sync up. Although having the double tap on the turn, I think ultimately will be good because it's less times I have to check in on that individual board. All right. Can't believe this is drafts 98 and 99. We're going to be 2/3 of the way done with all of our best ball streaming after today's 100th draft. If you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We still have our ongoing quest to get to 15K subs. I believe last I checked, it was a little over 500. It's like 560 or so. Make sure you're subscribed. When we hit that, we will be giving away $1,500 total, $500 to 3 winners. The way you get entered into that giveaway is by leaving a comment on any of my Best Ball Mania 4 draft streams. I respond to all of those comments as long as they're on my channel. I'm not hunting down the ones on other channels. But I've made a playlist for you. I've made it extremely easy for you. You leave a comment, and we will get all of those comments into a wheel to to do the drawing when I hit 15K subs. All right, we're about to pick at 3-7 in the draft where we're picking from the middle of the board. We started Austin Eckler, Chris Olave, Jalen Hurts sliding in this draft. Jalen Hurts all the way to, does go at pick 30. So now we're looking at some familiar faces. We're going to keep grabbing Breece Hall. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to do an Eckler, Breece Hall, roll this double anchor out here from the middle of the draft board. We're about to be on the clock at the 3-4 turn in the other draft. Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle. Let's see here. I've been really taking my foot off of the gas on Amari, but I have been saying I want to get some more Gibbs. Let's do Gibbs here. And let's grab another wide receiver. I'm not taking Amari. I don't like the Lamar detours here, even though I have Waddle. Let's play it through. Who do we want to play this through? We'll just keep playing the hits with Judy. So this team, Jahmyr Gibbs, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy. And we are now mini picks away in this draft. Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, anchor Jahmyr Gibbs out of the 3rd round, Jerry Jeudy. In the other draft, Austin Eckler, Chris Olave, Breece Hall. And a few picks away. Why don't we like Amari? So there are, I think, lots of ways things go wrong for the Browns. There's already a lot of inherent risk just with Deshaun Watson. The market is just almost just fully assuming he's completely back to form. I guess you could say there's a slight worry discount applied. And if we knew he was going to be what he used to be, he would be going closer to Herbert. But based on where Amari Cooper is being drafted, when you add in concerns for losing volume with Elijah Moore coming over, just systemic risks with Deshaun Watson, with Nick Chubb having a massive year, I think there's so much risk at his early ADP. In the same way, I think there's a ton of risk with Calvin Ridley. And I would prefer to make my Browns bets through the cheaper pieces, through Elijah Moore, through David Njoku, through Jerome Ford, and basically sitting out the Chubb Amari versions of it and playing that offense in a much, much more affordable way. So we are on the clock here. Christian Watson, I think, is a fun selection here. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. Drake London, if we want to go with a little NFC South here, but let's do Christian Watson here. So we start Austin Eckler, Breece Hall at running back, Chris Olave, Christian Watson there, and then we still got some time on this other draft. All right, we're good. We're good. Everyone, deep breaths. Deep breaths. The multi-table exercise is going okay so far. Then I take Christian Watson and I'm lost. Well, Christian Watson is a second-year wide receiver, which is typically a breakout cohort we want to target. And Amari Cooper is, let me Google and remind how old Amari Cooper is. Amari is 29 years old. And just had competition brought in for a guy who was a really good prospect and had a really good year in Elijah Moore. I don't see those situations as comparable. Christian Watson also, the way he's used with his deep ADOT and the way we saw his spike weeks materialize last year, legitimately the guy you need type of spiked week production. I also really like the Packers this year. And as you've seen, I'm playing the Packers through all of the different levels. I play it through Dobbs when Sean's on and we reach for him. I sprinkle in Jaden Reed. I take Jordan Love. I like AJ Dillon. So yeah, I do not view Christian Watson and Amari Cooper similarly. Yeah, Amari Cooper got dinged up in camp. It didn't seem like anything a big deal. They said it was like day to day. But yeah, I'm already dinged up. All right, we're about to pick here at 5-7. Let's see here. I think I will take, if Hawkinson slides all the way to me here at 55, I will do that. You get a little correlation with Christian Watson in week 17. I also am not entirely opposed to doing some kind of hyper fragile build. Hawkinson does go. That's a bummer. Could just keep taking Chris Godwin. This is a little bit wide receiver heavier of a room. Let's do Godwin because they do play Chris Olave in week 17. So I am going to use the correlation there as a tiebreaker. And we are about to pick in the draft from the turn. So our team over here from the middle, Austin Eckler, Breece Hall at running back, Chris Olave, Christian Watson, Chris Godwin at wide receiver. Now we are heading back to the team where we're picking on the turn, where we have Jahmyr Gibbs, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, and Jerry Jeudy. Looks like we got running backs at ADP, wide receiver. I select a lot in Tyler Lockett. This feels like a chance to get George Kittle. I've been trying to boost my elite tight end exposure. I'm only at 6.3% Kittle. I definitely want to be overweight Kittle. I definitely want to be overweight Kyle Pitts. The next question is, what is the other selection I want to make here? I still like Dobbins, but I think we're going to get cheaper Dobbins. This might be a chance we might just do our normal thing here of playing through this this 49ers and Washington Commander range. I select Jahan Dotson ahead of ADP, but this entire range here, very flat for me. And I'm going to break some ties in favor of building out that correlation there. So we add Jahan Dotson and George Kittle on that team. In the 6th round of both of these drafts right now. About to pick at 6'6". Caleb finally gets it. This music making this draft seem more stressful. That's the goal. I am stressed out. I'm trying to draft 2 teams at once, sip my iced coffee, interact with the chat, talk about why Christian Watson and Amari Cooper archetypes are different. But this is how we do things. But wait for the come down of feeding the ducks in the 100th draft. It is going to be the best ball personification of smoking a cigarette in bed after sex. That's what that is going to feel like. So we need the frenetic, panicked energy right now. Cold brew coursing through our veins, tabbing back and forth. So then we can rest. Then we can relax and draft team 100. About to pick at 6'6" here. Austin Eckler, Breece Hall on this team, Chris Olave, Christian Watson, Chris Godwin. Do have some running backs sliding a smidge. Is this a chance to get a Madison share? Man, I really need to stay on track. I cannot get tempted by these detours. Is this the one where we just build it out with multiple bucks? You know what we're going to do? We're going to reach here as well and play the Minnesota correlation game. I'm passing on Madison to not get buried by an avalanche. Similar to how we added Dotson a little ahead of ADP in that flat tier to correlate with Kittle. In the other draft, we take Jordan Addison here for a week 17 pairing with Christian Watson. So now both of these teams have 4 wide receivers and 2 detours. Austin Eckler, Breece Hall, the running backs from the middle of the draft board, along with Chris Olave and Chris Godwin correlated in week 17, and then another correlated pair, Christian Watson and Jordan Addison. In the other draft, we have 4 wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, Jahan Dotson, and then the 2 detours, 1 for Jahmyr Gibbs and 1 for George Kittle. 9 picks away from picking on the turn on the Kittle-Gibbs team, and 9 picks or so away from picking in the 7th round on the double anchor Breece Hall, Austin Eckler team. Oh, we're saying detour. Our entire video, wait till you guys see the thumbnail for the wide receiver avalanche video that's going to be coming out later this week. The word detour is on the thumbnail. Stevie trying to get me going on mushroom coffee my wife buys. Not the worst thing in the world. Smooth, mild, and 0 bitterness. I mean, I'll try it. I'll be honest, like mushroom coffee doesn't sound appealing to me. I feel like a mushroom tea sounds like a slightly more appealing to me. A little bit more earthy and natural. I don't know how I feel about mushroom coffee, but I'll try it if you want to send me the link. All right, we are about to pick at 7-7 here. Our quarterback plan, this is definitely shaping up to be a late round quarterback room. Kadarius Toney on the board here. Have not been selecting Kadarius a lot. Pick 79. I don't have any correlation tiebreakers with him, but I do seem to like him more. I have so much Treylon Burks, and he seems to just be getting cheaper. So let's use this as an opportunity to get slightly cheaper Kadarius Toney. So he's our fifth running back or fifth wide receiver there. Again, kind of similar to the Dameon Pierce pick from before. I'm just using discounts as my opportunity to get cheaper shares of these guys. We're about to pick at the 7-8 turn here. DeAndre Swift at the top of the board slides, 7 picks past ADP. Definitely going to take DeAndre Swift. Is there anything else I need to do here? I would like to get to a fifth wide receiver. We have two options here that are both correlated. Elijah Moore correlated with Garrett Wilson in week 17, or we could go with Zay Flowers coordinated with Jalen Waddle. I think because I like the options for Cleveland bringbacks more in the draft versus the Miami options, or sorry, the Baltimore options after Zay. I'm just not a huge Gus guy. I guess you can do Isaiah Likely tacked on. But if we do end up getting a Tua build here, and who knows if Tua comes back, he's probably not going to come back, but I still am going to play that as a mini correlation there with Jalen Waddle and Zay Flowers. So that team is looking fine. Jahmyr Gibbs, DeAndre Swift at running back, the past and present of the Detroit Lions. Wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, Jahan Dotson, and Zay Flowers at wide receiver. Tight end, George Kittle. On this team where we are about to pick, at pick 90, we got Austin Eckler and Breece Hall, Chris Olave, Christian Watson, Chris Godwin, Jordan Addison, and Kadarius Toney. What are we going to do here? We'll see what KZ does. I think I'm certainly interested. Yeah, no quarterback. Yeah, let's do Darren Waller. Darren Waller slides 9 picks past ADP. Been trying to boost up Kittle, been boost up my Pitts exposure. Definitely need to get this Waller boosted up here. 4.2%, but we get him 10 picks past ADP. We also have no quarterbacks on this board or on this team. So this gives us outs to a Daniel Jones and backdoor stacks with the Giants and Rams, which I always appreciate on teams where I do not have a quarterback selected already. So no quarterbacks on either of these teams. You know, when we look at quarterback options on the Gibbs Swift team, still plenty of options here that we can do. We got outs to Purdy. We got outs to Sam Howell, naturally. Russell Wilson with Judy. We got Aaron Rodgers with Garrett Wilson. Could even do something with Goff and Gibbs. I don't hate that pairing at all. And then over in this room, we add Darren Waller, which gives us outs to Daniel Jones. We have outs to, is Kirk Cousins still on the board? Yep. Cousins, Jordan Love, and Derek Carr. So these are definitely shaping up to be later quarterback builds, but lots of avenues to stacks here. Like the video, you cowards. 527 people watching. I believe that is our peak, our highest peak concurrent on the stream this summer for drafts. If you're just tuning in, we are multi-tabling 2 drafts right now. Every other one of my Best Ball Mania 4 drafts, my first 97, were all done solo, all focus on one stream. This one, we're getting a little spicy. We're doing 2 drafts at once. I'm trying to service the audio listeners and taking some content detours while doing it. We're about to see what we're going to do here at pick 103. Let's see here. I think we can wait on quarterback. No wide receivers here of any interest. This feels like a running back pick. Antonio Gibson or Charbonnet. Let's grab Antonio Gibson. They play The Jets in week 16, a little Breece Hall there. This isn't the Kittle team, so we're not getting anything there, but Gibson, I think a nice third running back in this room. Still have some time before we pick at the 108, 109, the 9-10 turn in this other draft. Just making sure that I'm seeing the board correctly here. We'll see if the Daniel Jones stuff works. That would be right about at ADP at 114 over there, which would work out well. Still have plenty of backup options. Feel good about these 5 wide receivers through 79. Olave, Watson, Godwin, Addison, Tony on this team. And we got the 5 wide receivers through 85 on the other team. Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, Jahan Dotson, Zay Flowers. Sindre getting Patrick Laird as my 10th round dynasty startup pick. Lucky charm. That's what we like to hear. By the way, if you guys missed that interview, Davis and I did that with Patrick Laird. That posted Friday on the channel. Go and watch that. If you are audio listeners, you can get it on the Takecast. Very, very fun interview with Patrick Laird. Super sharp guy. Tons of great insights on kind of the running back holdouts and how he's thinking about it. And he's in an interesting position because he's one of the guys that benefits in a lot of ways from if these guys hold out, if they're not willing to play, because you've got guys like Patrick Laird on cheap contracts who are willing to step in and play. Let's see if we're going to get both of our quarterback selections here that we want. Tua comes all the way back to us at 108. We're going to put him in the queue. Daniel Jones falls to us at 114. This is how you do it. Daniel Jones stacked up with Darren Waller. Come on down. Tua stacked up after ADP with Jalen Waddle. Come on down. And then we need a third running back here. No wide receivers. Perine fits very well on a Gibbs Swift team. Let's get some early season production. And we are cruising. Let's recap these teams through 10 rounds. Both of these have 10 picks under their belts. On the Tua team, we have Tua stacked up with Waddle with the Zay Flowers bring back. The running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs, DeAndre Swift, Samaje Perine. The other wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, Jerry Jeudy, and Jahan Dotson to go along with Waddle Flowers, and George Kittle at tight end. Love builds like this where I can get access to quarterback 1 week production with Tua and tight end 1 production with Kittle from cheaper prices than having to spend in the typical elite onesie range. And then on this other team, feel really good here as well. Daniel Jones stacked up with Darren Waller. Same thought, getting access to onesie elite production at cheaper prices. Again, if they were going to do it the whole season, they'd be priced up much, much higher, but we know Jones and Waller can do that in single week stretches. Love the running back room, Eckler, Breece Hall, Gibson. Wide receivers, Chris Olave, Christian Watson, Chris Godwin, Jordan Addison, and Kadarius Toney. So what, do we have identical builds right now? 1-3-5-1s on both. 1-3-5-1s, perfect symmetry, drafts 98 and 99. Cheers to you guys. Stephanie is saying she gifted me Tua. Are you in this draft, Short Gamer? Did I see you? Oh, Super Shorty, here we go. Oh, you had Tyreek Hill, but you took, Herbert and Lawrence. See, that's what it took. That's interesting. Because I was wondering why the Tyreek Hill drafter passed on Tua twice there. But I thank you for your service. Yeah, that's an interesting spot. The Mike Williams stack there. I don't know. I'm out. I'm not as high on either Ridley or Mike Williams. But if I knew I think Herbert's kind of a tough click for me there, knowing I had outs to Lawrence and Tua later. But trust me, I like Herbert. I want to get some more of him. Definitely makes sense. I am on the clock over here. I got busy talking. What do we want to do? Is this another Herbert team? This is definitely... Let's actually play this with a little week 17. I would like to have similar Mitchell to Herbert, so balancing that out there. I did not have anything with Atlanta or Chicago, so we'll get Gibson, Mitchell in the same game there, get to 4 running backs. Pete, why is Javonte ADP not climbing higher? I mean, the news just broke yesterday, right? That he's not going to be on PUP. I expect we are going to see a slow, steady push of ADP with Javonte. But the thing too to remember is like the way the rolling ADP works in these contests is it takes a couple days often for the full refresh to come through. And because people are still so anchored to the old ADP, unless you're drafting off of updated rankings or specifically flagging a player you think is mispriced because of news, it will take a little extra time for the market to catch up and have that fully baked in. So if you're trying to jam your Javonte shares, now is definitely the time to do it. All right. What are we looking at here? I believe Rodgers just stacked up with Garrett Wilson. I know we did that last draft here. Same dynamic. He slides a little bit past ADP. I think that is the play with one of these picks, unless we wanted to do a Russell Wilson thing instead. Although Dulcich is gone, I would have considered maybe doing Dulcich and then grabbing Russ. But let's do a Tua, Aaron Rodgers, 2 in the window here. Let's see. Do we take the Jamal Williams discount? I really have just not been loving taking him. Or we could do Tank Bigsby. I'm trying to see if I have any other correlations here. I guess we'll just take Jamal. I did not feel strongly about any of these picks here. So we add Jamal Williams. Oops, we're almost on the clock over here. And we are going to have to make our first panicked pick. This is the first pick that I didn't get the chance to review. I knew we kind of needed a wide receiver. There were no quarterbacks or tight ends that I wanted to take in that range. So we panic select Jonathan Mingo. This experiment has finally reached the suboptimal levels where I am not entirely focused and dialed in. But I will always be transparent with you. I will always let you know if I make a pick that isn't heavily considered. Jonathan Mingo does give us outs to another quarterback. I think I was kind of hoping, was there any chance? Now, Kirk Cousins went really early in this one, so I never had a chance to stack up Jordan Addison there. One knock on taking Mingo is I do have tons of Giants pass catchers that I'm able to select late, so maybe I should have reserved more bullets in the wide receiver chamber there. Let's get reoriented on this team here. This could be, I guess one thing I have to decide here is if I want to like play my second quarterback through Derek Carr or Jordan Love. Either of them makes sense with the capital I invested in Olave and Watson. And I do have game stacks on either side there. We could do like a tight end here, like a falling Schultz, and then see which one of these guys come back. That might be the way to do it. I do like Schultz a good bit. He also gives us an out to another quarterback, CJ Stroud, who I've not been taking a lot. Let's make sure we're not missing any picks again. So Schultz does go. Do I just keep hammering Kendre Miller? Do we use this as an option to get to Algier? Algier is kind of a piece that I don't mind. Here, you know what we'll do? This is what we'll do. We're going to just grab Derek Carr here. We'll grab Derek Carr, and then that'll give me more options to build out the backdoor stacks. What was my Carr versus Jordan Love exposure? I'm at 8% Carr, even with the field. Jordan Love's 10.5%. I think I could have gone a couple different ways there, but considering how many Saints are on the board here, Kendre, Taysom Hill, Rashid Shaheed, I think I kind of like my options for building that out. So let me recap this team real quick. Daniel Jones, Derek Carr at quarterback, Austin Eckler, Breece Hall, Antonio Gibson, Eli Mitchell at running back, wide receivers, Chris Olave, Christian Watson, Chris Godwin, Jordan Addison, Kadarius Toney, Jonathan Panic Click Mingo, tight end Darren Waller. Back here on the other board where we are drafting from the turn, we're about to be up at the 13-14 turn. We do have Tua and Aaron Rodgers stacked up with Garrett Wilson and Waddle. Running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs, DeAndre Swift, Samaje Perine, and Jamal Semi-Panic Click Williams. Other wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy, Jahan Dotson, Zay Flowers. Tight end, George Kittle. Let's see what we like here. This feels like it could be another Taysom team if we wanted. Could do a Devin Singletary pick here. Miami with Baltimore, we're good there. Jets, Cleveland. Let's do, I feel like this team could still use some running back production. Let's go ahead and grab Singletary. We also kind of still need some wide receiver stuff. Maybe this is the spot to get our Cleveland bring back, right? Don't do a lot of DPJ, but we do have the Aaron Rodgers. We could use a 6th wide receiver in this range. Let's go ahead and add DPJ here about at ADP to give us a bring back in that game. We're now on the clock over here. Man, this is kind of the gross spot where I might have played this wrong because I do think I should take Rashid Shaheed, but now I am boxing myself out. I can still get to, I guess I could get to 8 wide receivers in this build with another giant. The Mingo pick really kind of set me back in how I ideally would like to play this. Yeah, we're going to take Shaheed. We might just end up with an 8 wide receiver build, but I do think we kind of have the luxury because of being good at quarterback, because we have Darren Waller here, we can get away with a 2 tight end build. I just kind of wish I had that Mingo pick back, and then I do Shaheed. What I thought was going to happen was that one of Taysom Hill, we could still do Juwan Johnson too. That was a tough spot there as far as what that now means for this overall structure, but I think it's going to be fine to do an 8 wide receiver build there. Moa wondering, what is this stream? We are multi-tabling drafts 98 and 99. By the end of Best Ball Breakfast today, we will be to 100 stream drafts. Make sure you guys are subscribed on the channel. We're ripping drafts every single day virtually, at least Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays. We're doing 2 drafts each, 2 on Best Ball Breakfast, although we're doing 4 today. We do the splash play double headers on Tuesdays, and then I do Best Ball Breakfast with Pat Carrane, the defending Best Ball Mania champ, and Sean Siegel on Wednesdays. I've been drafting teams on Best Ball After Darks on Fridays and Saturdays. Those are for YouTube members only. And then we've been drafting on the Swolecast a decent bit too. One thing I've been thinking about, I got inspired by Carrane's stream the other day. I think it would be fun. Oh, I have another announcement too. I think it would be fun to do like my final like 8 or 9 drafts as a mega stream and then save the 150th for a final Best Ball Breakfast. I'm still figuring out how I want to land that plane, and I'll need to be gauging the fill rate while we do that. But it's something I'm kicking around. All right, let's see what we are going to do here in this draft. So this is the team with the double anchor RB. We're about to pick at 15-7. The team's Daniel Jones and Derek Carr. At running back, Eckler, Breece Hall, Antonio Gibson, Eli Mitchell. Wide receiver, Chris Olave, Christian Watson, Chris Godwin, Addison, Tony, Mingo, Shaheed. I think we are just going to triple stack up Derek Carr. Let's lean into this correlation. We're playing this in a very big way. Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Juwan Johnson, and with Derek Carr, and we're bringing it back with Chris Godwin in week 17. Now we're going to pop back over to the draft with Tua and Aaron Rodgers. The running backs in this room are Gibbs, DeAndre Swift, Samaje Perine, Jamal Williams, and Devin Singletary. Wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, Jahan Dotson, Zay Flowers, DPJ, and George Kittle. Tight ends definitely getting wiped off the board in this one. We might have to do the Conklin reach again. I think that's probably going to have to be the play. 9 picks past ADP, but Conklin's not coming back. I'm going to go ahead and put Conklin in the queue to start. Make sure. So then we've got the Rodgers double stack with the DPJ bring back. And then really we can go running back or wide receiver. What other correlation stuff am I looking at here? I do like Chuba a good bit. Anything else? This is a Could also reach for another tight end. I think Chubb is just like my favorite pure pick on the board here. No really correlation stuff standing out with him. Just making sure there's nothing I'm missing. This would get me to a 2.662. I don't mind Chuba, though, with a Gibbs Swift team. I mean, would you draft Jahmyr Gibbs and DeAndre Swift? If I get like 16 combined games from both of those guys where they're healthy, I'll probably feel pretty good about that. So I don't think it's bad to bank in some early season production. We're going to tab back to our other draft we're about to pick in the 16th round. This is the team where I probably will add a Giants wide receiver in the last round, but we'll also kind of let the market dictate that for us, which means we're looking at running back, quarterback, or tight end for these final couple picks. We could do a third quarterback on this build. I don't mind a third quarterback there as well. Is there anything here at running back? This feels like pushing it at running back. Anything at tight end? You know what we could do? Yeah, maybe we set up another big stack. Let's do Bryce Young. We're going to go to 3 quarterbacks here. Daniel Jones, Derek Carr, and Bryce Young. Could end up with another 3-6-6-3 builder. No, that's impossible because we're already at 7 wide receivers. I'm thinking if we did double stack Bryce Young with Hayden Hurst would be an option. But I think if we get to 5 running backs in this build, we're in decent shape. There's a running back I'm eyeing here at pick 199. We'll see if they come back. Get a quick breather here. Quick breather. Tanner says I can't stop taking Jeff Wilson. Yeah. Did I see Dalvin Cook tweeted? Was it yesterday? He just tweeted out an emoji that was just like the sunglass emoji, smiling guy. And then everyone's like, it means he's going to Miami because there's sun in Miami and you'd need sunglasses. I think that was the logic there. There's 3 teams that are still the front runners in the betting markets and per sources. It is the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Patriots. I mean, the Patriots certainly have interest in adding a running back, right? They worked out Leonard Fournette. It does seem inevitable that the Patriots add a running back. The Jets, to me, continue to make the most sense. And again, like, it doesn't make sense for any of these guys to give Dalvin Cook a ton of money, but I would get it from the perspective of the Jets being like, hey, let's push our chips all in. We're semi-spooked about Breece Hall. We don't love our depth behind him. Let's add Dalvin Cook. That's still where my money is going. And the only way I think he ends up on the Dolphins is if he takes a massive, massive pay cut, because I just do not think he likes their current offer. And I don't think the Dolphins are going to capitulate and give him more money. So a long way of saying I still love drafting Jeff Wilson. We're about to pick at 17 here. We do need another running back. This might be the chance to just get, I actually think we need to get our Giants wide receiver now because all of them got wiped off the board. And I wouldn't mind getting to a double stack. I'm actually lighter Slayton than I am now. What am I at? Hyatt 7.4, slightly more. And then I have a bunch of Wandale. What am I at? Yeah, 13.7. So Slayton makes sense here. We'll click Slayton, and then we need to hop over here where we are on the clock. I was hoping that I need to get McBride in the queue, Dwayne McBride. I was hoping that we would get Ty Chandler to fall in this one. Or am I mixing up my drafts? I might be mixing up my drafts now. I just mixed up my drafts. Dwayne McBride was on this one. Here we go. So we got to a 7th running back there, which isn't bad. But who is our final pick here? We're good at tight end. Do we just tack on? Ugh, we're not doing the Corey Davis thing, are we? You know what? Do we feel? Oh, I'm going quick. I'm doing a Durham Smythe at the last second. Shit. No, I misclicked. No, I got him. Phew, that was close. This was redemption. Oh my God, that didn't feel good. This was redemption for the time I tried to click Durham Smythe with Pat, and then we auto draft Ezekiel Elliott. This was not a smooth landing. This was not a smooth landing. I got tripped up over with the Christian Watson one. I was looking at Ty Chandler, then thought it was this draft and went back and panic selected Dwayne McBride, where I have no correlation with Green Bay or Minnesota on this team, and end up with a 2-7-6-3 build. This is a wild build here. This one needed the 7th wide receiver, although there was not a lot to like there. I guess I could have capitulated and taken Corey Davis. Yeah, Dwayne McBride, that was a bad pick. So this draft had one objectively bad pick, both structurally, didn't make sense. This was the team I meant to take McBride on. So we're going to end up with double McBride. All right, this was the one. Here we go. Dwayne McBride as a running back 5 on a double anchor team with Gibson Mitchell. That seems fine. Mistakes were made. This is the moral of the story, folks. Unless you're trying to get to draft 100 on a stream, don't multi-table. The teams are in the books, and I do feel like I can kind of relax a little bit right now. Let's recap these teams. Man, this McBride pick is going to stick out like a sore thumb. Let's figure out which wide receiver we should have taken, right? So we have the Tua and Aaron Rodgers. I did quickly look to see if Hardman was kicking around. He was not. We do get to the double stacks with both Tua and Aaron Rodgers, which I like. So then the other bringbacks would have been Baltimore and Cleveland, which we did already get with Zay Flowers and Donovan Peoples-Jones. So then it's like, where is the additional correlation? We're finding who are some other wide receivers. I mentioned how I don't love Corey Davis in builds where you go wide receivers very early. I don't even know who I should have taken. Would this have been I literally don't know. I hate all of these wide receivers. So I'm going to let myself off the hook there. I guess do I take Braxton Berrios instead of Durham Smythe? Is that the play? Was there any other correlation stuff? Detroit with Dallas. I can't take Jalen Tolbert. DeAndre Swift with Greg Dortch, I guess. Josh Palmer with Samaje Perine. Russell Gage with Jamal Williams. It's gross out there. I'm letting myself off the hook. Where on Discord do you post hints for drafts? So yes, if you are a YouTube member in the Best Ball Value Hounds tier, and then you go on the Deposit Kingdom YouTube channel and you sync your YouTube and Discord account, it will unlock the Best Ball Breakfast private channel. And then there's an alert in the pinned things that you can get alerted for. I'll tell you what people do now. The alerts, people aren't even waiting for the tag. They're just looking to see when I type and then hopping in. So, but yes, that is where you can go and see when I am about to hop into a draft if you become a YouTube member. The other benefits of the YouTube members is you get access to the Best Ball After Dark live streams, and you get merch discounts. And also, this was the thing I wanted to plug before. Let me, I need to get a little situated here. Another perk. So I mentioned, and I will recap these two teams here, but I do just want to mention this first. We mentioned this about a month ago that I had an idea to do the world's fastest slow draft. And the concept is this. I'm going to round up 11 people from the Discord. Those of you who are in the Best Ball Value Hounds Discord, I'm going to share a form once this show is over. Here's the deal. I'm going to do this on Friday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a private league. It's going to be like a $3 private league. It's going to have a slow draft clock, so it'll be an 8-hour clock. My goal is to finish this draft in sub 18 minutes. So how do we do that? Every drafter makes every selection in less than 5 minutes. It's going to be a slow draft. It's going to say an 8-hour clock, but we are going to set the Guinness World Book of Record for the fastest slow draft of all time. So if you are signing up to be in this draft, you need to be present at 2:30 p.m. on Friday, your full undivided attention. And no one say, well, just put it on autopilot. No, the world's fastest slow draft with manual selections. I am going to break ties if there's a ton of interest in joining this draft in favor of people who can hop on stream, partly because I want the accountability. I want to be able to look you in the eye and say, make your pick quicker. Make your pick quicker. And the other element of this, because I want to maintain the integrity of this draft, I'm going to do a prize. I'm going to do a $100 gift card for whoever people vote have the best team. And we'll almost draft it as if it's a tournament team. So whoever has the best correlations, the best structure, whatever. So not only are we manually making these picks, but we're going to try to make the best possible picks in very fast fashion. If we do it, if everyone picks under 5 seconds per pick, we can do the world's fastest slow draft in sub 18 minutes. That's the goal I'm going for. We're going to break the world land speed record for a slow draft on Friday. I'm going to share that link to the form for interest in the Discord immediately following the show. Fill that out. I'll get back to you guys with the drafters. We'll get a private Discord group message going to coordinate everything. It's going to be incredible. All right. But everyone getting priority for this is the Best Ball Value Hound. So you need to be a YouTube member. You need to be in the Discord. That's the only place I'm going to share that form later. All right. Let's review these two teams, and then we're going to do draft 100. That's the plan. That is the plan. All right. Here is this team. Pull this up. The first team we just drafted was draft 98. Rodgers at quarterback. Both of them are double stacked. Tua with Waddle and and Durham Smythe. Aaron Rodgers with Garrett Wilson and Tyler Conklin. The running backs in this room, we got to 7 running backs. One of them was a misclick. Jahmyr Gibbs, DeAndre Swift, Samaje Perine, Jamal Williams, Devin Singletary, Chuba Hubbard, and Dwayne McBride. I wanted Dwayne McBride to be a wide receiver structurally. Ultimately, there were no wide receivers that I think ended up being awful that we passed on here. Wide receivers, we did stop at 6. Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, Jahan Dotson, Zay Flowers, and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Normally, when I stop at 6 wide receivers, it's because I took 6 in the first 100. Here, DPJ at 157. So it does feel just a smidge light for me as usual. And that goes back to the McBride pick being a mistake. But we survive. We move on. George Kittle at tight end, along with the correlated Conklin and Smythe on the cheap. Don't mind this build. Let's get this one set here. This was draft number 98 on Best Ball Breakfast. A funky 2763 build with Miami and New York Jets. Shout out again to Stephanie for not taking Tyreek Hill and letting me get that Tua stack. Also, shout out to Stephanie. We announced this yesterday. She's going to be leading up all of our high stakes waivers for ship chasing this year. So excited to be working with Stephanie on that. Our second team that we drafted, this was the team from the middle of the round where we started with Eckler. We ended up with a 3-5-8-2 build here. Daniel Jones, Derek Carr, and Bryce Young at quarterback. Our running backs, Austin Eckler, Breece Hall, Antonio Gibson, Eli Mitchell, and Dwayne McBride. 2 Dwayne McBride picks, one I wanted and one I didn't. Wide receiver, Chris Olave, Christian Watson, Chris Godwin, Jordan Addison, Kadarius Toney, Jonathan Mingo, Rashid Shaheed, Darius Slayton. Tight ends, Darren Waller, and Jawan Johnson. So you can see here, the multi-tabling effect was getting just slightly different constructions than what I would otherwise call optimal, where in this one, I was trying to think through how to play the Saints. And I think ideally this is a 7 wide receiver team. But because I wanted to get that double stack with Daniel Jones, which I didn't necessarily have to force, but there weren't a lot of other options anyway. So this one, we do get to 8 wide receivers. The other one, we only get to 6 wide receivers. So this is what happens when you don't have your full focus. You don't just get to perfectly execute the teams as you otherwise would normally like to do. But we need to kill this music. We need to kill it as we transition here to our last draft. You guys are getting a bonus draft on Best Ball Breakfast today. Normally only do 2 drafts, but because we are getting to 100 today, we decided to take the ambitious 4 draft path and get to our 100th draft. I did just tip people off in the Discord. The draft did immediately fill. And so what we need to do now is we need to feed the ducks. The ducks need to be fed. I need to update the tracker. My 100th draft. Honestly, crazy to me that I've done 100 of these on stream now. Draft number 100 coming your way. The banner is set. We are in the draft. No Influencer 101, just the Influencer 107. So same spot from one of the drafts we just did. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. Have a little bit more iced coffee left. I'm impressed with myself though that I didn't need to take a bathroom break. It's impressive. Made it into 100. The Ducks are playing. It has been a journey. Mr. aka TM Longacre, who rivals. You know what? Do you know what this morning is missing? No JGFC. No JGFC in drafts this morning. Let's see. Welcome, Juiced Prop Bet Prodigy. Quite the YouTube name there. Welcome to becoming a YouTube member. Thank you, Brett Ziegler. Congrats on 100 drafts. Can't wait to pop in on January to sweat out the millie for one of my teams. You had me in the first half. Tyler, how did you become a YouTube member again? Oh, you probably upgraded. I gotcha. Yeah. Man, this is the exact same spot we were in last draft where we were sitting on the board here. Should we just do a Kelsey? This is like a very avalanche-y room too. You know what? I'm going to boost my Diggs here. I don't mind being slightly underweight Diggs. I feel way more comfortable being underweight Kelsey in the first round than I do Diggs. I think there are a lot of concerns with Diggs this year, but I'm going to use this room environment where I see all of my familiar friends as a tiebreaker to go with the wide receiver and not get buried in an avalanche. That time I forced the Travis Kelce and Mahomes start on Best Ball Breakfast, and then like my first wide receivers were Ridley and Drake London. I did not like how that team ended up. I did not like it. Sam recently graduated to a badge bro, number 99 for me. You are right on my heels, nipping at my heels. Dylan just woke up and I get to be in draft 100 and feed the Ducks. It's a wonderful time to be alive. John says the 500 plus viewers is too big time for the Discord alerts. Now, I'm trying, you know what? The Discord alerts worked really well for the double draft because there was actually time to get in if anyone wanted to get in with that. It is like, yeah, because it feels like I just did my portfolio review at draft 75. Now we have 24 down. And I mean, August is going to be an absolute blur. I might actually throttle my pace down because I've been doing lots of drafts in other spots. Like, well, one thing is we're probably not going to be doing that many best ball drafts or underdog drafts on chip chasing in August, just because we have all of our high stakes managed leagues. Maybe on Swolecast, we start doing some more weekly winners, but I'm going to like throttle it down because I do like the idea of like mid to late August, basically coinciding with how quickly stuff is filling. I'm going to grab Waddle here. Diggs Waddle. That I would like to do one stream where I do like 7 or 8 in a row, but then keep number 150 in the back pocket for a final best ball breakfast stream. So don't worry. I will continue to look at the calendar. I will continue to look at the fill rate and make sure that we are set up accordingly. Because it's kind of a tightrope walk, right? Because I don't want to burn through all my drafts and then have a couple best ball breakfasts before the season where I don't have any more best ball mania bullets. But we also are going to have other contests, right? Underdog's going to launch more bulldogs or big dogs or what other kind of mid-stakes drafts. So it'd be fun to do a couple of those on stream. So we'll figure it out. But I certainly, the one situation I will not let happen is playing it too risky and risk the contest filling before I get my draft in. We will finish early well before we ever let that risk come into play. Nick says, sad we never got a Millie puppy. Yeah, I guess I honestly feel like Underdog could probably fill a millionaire puppy if they wanted to. But yeah, I mean, at this point, I think you mean like a puppy that spanned the entire draft season. I think that would have been fun to have too. The snapshot contests are fun though. Are you guys all drafting in the Superflex Palm? My slow drafts have never been more barren than they are right now. Look at this. I have one weekly winners draft that's filling up, and I hopped in a slow puppy this morning just because I was like, my slow drafts are feeling way neglected. Slow draft Pete is a thing of the past. Damn, I was hoping Ramondre Stevenson would fall, although let's go ahead and do the Josh Allen. I'm at 2.1% Josh Allen. If I'm going to do it, it's going to be when I have Diggs. It's going to be when he slides past ADP. And we do sneak in that other second round pick with Jalen Waddle there. So we go Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle. Looks like you guys are mixed. Some of you are doing Superflex Bomb. Some of you aren't. Some of you are maxing it with the slows. See, Kevin's too smart. Kevin's going out to the Fantasy Expo out in Canton. Look at you, trying to make sure that you're not distracted by all your slow drafts out there. Uh-oh, I'm waiting for what Andy's about to reveal. Wow, no palms for Andy. How many BBMs deep are you, Andy? I do think I mentioned kind of throttling back. We are going to get the club fired up again on Tuesday. I think maybe Andy, and I think we should talk to Clay. I think it'd be fun to do some weekly winners on the club and focus on that. Yes, Tyler, thank you. Appreciate everyone helping me out with my plugs. Tell the people about Underdog Cardio Club, Brooklyn and Vegas. So I'm doing the Underdog Cardio Club event on Friday, August 4th. There might be a couple spots open even for non-UCC members if I think we have a couple more bikes that we can fill. But for Underdog Cardio Club members, it's an event. It's going to be at a spin studio in Brooklyn. I'm going to have the headset. We're going to do a draft. Live Underdog Cardio Club. We can get some drinks after in Brooklyn. Looking forward to it. The champ, Pat Carane's going to be there. I think Nick Ercolano might be there. Mike Zakarian's going to be there. Tyler is flying up, I believe. Where are you? Texas, Tyler? Flying in from Texas. And then, the Ship Chasing crew is going to be out in Vegas for drafts right before the season starts. I believe it's the 8th and the 9th of September, the one after Labor Day weekend. So, if you're in Brooklyn for the 4th or in Vegas for the draft weekend on opening night kickoff, swing by, say hi, all that good stuff. Let's see what we are about to do here in this draft. Najee not tempting me. Christian Watson goes. I think DeAndre Hopkins is fairly priced here. No correlation or anything. The other thing would be if you did something with Mike Williams because they play Buffalo in week 16. I guess we could do something like that. Let's do that. Let's play a little round robin with that playoff schedule. I don't have a lot of Mike Williams. I am going to end up underweight on him, but that seemed like a decent tiebreaker if I was ambivalent between both DeAndre Hopkins and Mike Williams. So our start here through 4 rounds, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle, Mike Williams. Andy is going to be there. Yes, there's space for you. Fill out that form that I forwarded you, Andy, so we make sure we have you. Nick says, will it be streamed to participate at home? So the draft is just going to be for people live in person. We are going to make some content. I don't know if we're going to do like a video or if we're actually going to do a live stream of the draft. It'll probably have to do with what kind of tech setup they have there, but there will be content from there. OG1 says, Pete, for some reason I thought you would be a great poker player, but I looked up your head and mom. You got to beef those numbers up. I probably played only like 4 or 5 eligible tournaments ever for the Hendon Mob. Most of my poker days were all in high school and online. I have not played that many live tournaments. I went out to the World Series of Poker 1 year, played a couple events, a 3K where I bubbled, There's a vlog of that as Mans if you want to check that out. I played a couple like regional tournaments at like Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun, but yes, you are not going to find a long history of tournament wins on my Hendon mob. Thanks for checking out my Hendon mob though. I'll drop the link down below. See my career earnings in reported tournaments. Where did all the wide receivers go? Do we do Najee? Do we do it? This is the spot where I do Najee, right? It's the spot. This one goes out to all the Najee lovers. Najee Harris, come on down. Najee Harris at pick 55. I believe this is my second share of Najee Harris. I've refused to take him in the 4th round. I now have 2 shares of him in the mid-5th. This one goes out to Eagles. This one goes out to Nez. This one goes out to Davis Pang. All the Najee lovers out there, taking him at the 3-4 turn. A peace offering to you guys. Pete trying to get the normie vote with the Najee pick. Pete, did you see the Sky News? What's the newest Sky News? That he's the best. There was a ton of news yesterday. The news was Richie James was the best wide receiver at Chiefs camp. The news was Justin Ross, who a lot of people try to roast me for my Justin Ross exposure. Someone did. It was Berg. I don't know if it's Andrew or Alec. Went back and apologized to me for my Justin Ross because he had trolled me. Takes a big man. There's a handful of you trolls out here in the community. It's nice to know that one of you could man enough and be like, oh, maybe Pete was onto something with that late round Justin Ross pick. Mike says, will the fast, slow draft have any special rules, like not allowed to draft David Montgomery? No. There's going to be no additional challenges. We are simply optimizing for the fastest draft. I want to submit this to the Guinness World Book of Records. Do we just live in the dead zone here and risk getting married? I think I took my 2 detours. Josh Allen and Najee Harris, 2 guys I do not select a lot. I'm going to value hound Najee and just pray. Just pray. Which I assume is what all the Najee drafters do. They just pray. If I didn't take Najee, I probably would have taken JSN. And then I probably would have scooped up this JK Dobbins. JK Dobbins, of course, does play. Give me a Miami bring back here. So should we just play it through the premium? I select so much Dotson. It does feel like the spot to just play this premium through Gabe. If we're going to reach for a wide receiver here, we'll get the Josh Allen double. Yeah, this room will definitely make you pay for the detours here. We'll do... I was like, when I first took Allen, I was completely prepared to set up what I do like for a build, the 2-7-7-2, where you get an elite quarterback, an elite tight end, and those are your 2 detours. And then you get to 7 running backs in a 0 RB build, and you get to 7 wide receivers, 6 of them through the top 100. But every once in a while, there's a Najee Harris gift. And I had to take him. The Najee community is a little bit on pins and needles. I had that joke on Twitter about Najee being on mute when the running backs had their Zoom. And Davis got really upset. He thought I was bagging too hard on his guy Najee and his heavy Najee bags. So this is a peace offering. Because it's been tough out there for Najee Harris lovers. They've been taking a beating on Twitter. The echo chamber threatening to swallow them up with our anti-Najee Harris, pro-Jalen Warren campaigns. So here you go. An olive branch to Najee Harris Nation. Saw Eagles go back-to-back wide receiver at the 1-2 turn. Major blow to his brand. I sent him a screenshot of a team where I took Nick Chubb the other day. There's good people on both sides. Oh, thank you for reminding me. Elon is rebranding Twitter as X. Are people going to actually call it X, or is he just changing the logo? I think it's just changing the logo, right? Wow. So much for my Baltimore bringbacks there. No Bateman or Flowers coming back to me here. All right, we're going to do a third detour. There are no wide receivers left to take. We're looking at Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is fine, but there's better picks on the board right now. I was going to take Kyle Pitts. Should we do? Yeah, we're just going to live in the dead zone in this draft. Cam Akers, come on down. Josh Allen at quarterback, running back, Najee Harris, Cam Akers, wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle, Mike Williams, Gabe Davis. Kevin says there's always Odell. Be gone, Satan. The only time I get bullied into drafting Odell is when I'm drafting with Pat. I think those are my two Odell Beckham shares, one on mine, and then one when we did Pat's mega stream for his anniversary. We ended up having to take Odell too. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. What are we at? Have we gained any subs today? We're trying to get to 15K so we can do the giveaway. So I can just shut up and stop talking about it. What are we at here? We're to 14,438 subs. All right, so we need 62 more to get to 14.5. Then we'll be 500 away from our goal. When we hit 15K, we're giving away $1,500. The way you get entered into that is by leaving a comment on any of my draft stream videos. And as usual, if you read the FAQ, you know this, but if you do first, if you write the same word or repeat the same comment over and over, I remove it. You got to just show just a modicum of effort. A modicum of effort here. If I'm going to go through the exercise of replying to all of them, you can show a little effort for the comment to be eligible. And all the eligible videos are in a playlist down below. I've made it very easy for you. I don't think you can draft underdog in Vegas. I'm not drafting underdog in Vegas. You can do slow drafts in Vegas, like if you're already pre-regged, but yeah, you cannot register for a contest in Vegas. Let's see here. This feels like a time to get a Jameson Williams share if Sky Moore's coming off the board now and we are catching up at wide receiver. We'll grab Jameson Williams. I thought about it. Z said draft Sky and roll the clip. I was in Sky territory there. And then he went at pick 189, so I took Jameson Williams. Are we drafting J-Rob in the 18th round, Pete? No. No. J-Rob has bounced around from like 4 teams, had a complete opportunity for touches on the Jets, and they couldn't even use them, and they had to use a UDFA Zonovan Knight because James Robinson was so washed. Then he bounces to another team, gets cut, and then signs with another team. We're done with James Robinson, guys. There's nothing left. Jay Chang, where do you think Javonte ADP will be at? This one I struggle with, because I think his efficient ADP, and this board isn't the best one to look at because it's a wide receiver avalanche room. But I think he should probably be in the early 6th round, after Kenneth Walker comes off the board, around Aaron Jones and before Miles Sanders. That's about where I would slot him. Where do I think he ends up? I think over the next few weeks, we'll see him move up into the 7th round around this David Montgomery, Dameon Pierce, Cam Akers, although these guys go a little earlier in normal rooms. But I think around these names is where we'll see him. I might just, do I trot out? So Tua does go there. Yeah, I was going to consider going Tua with Allen, but he goes. This feels like another running back pick. Trying to see if I have any other correlation stuff cooking here. Could do Perine again. Do we have any Carolina or Minnesota stuff with Dylan? I do like Dylan though. How do we want to play this? I think I'll grab another Perine here. I want to play around this. So that week 16 there with Perine. So Perine plays the Chargers. So I get the Perine Mike Williams. And then I also have them playing New England, and New England plays Buffalo in week 17. So maybe I'll build out a fun round robin here with Broncos, Chargers, and Bills as like a week 17 correlation giga brain stack. Yeah, so Javonte Williams, this is a canary in the coal mine, right? Because this is a wide receiver avalanche room. Running backs are going later, and Javonte goes at 87 in this room. So like if you cost adjust this to most of the running backs are going 10 picks later than they normally do. Najee well after, Cam Akers after. I think you could say that this pick represents like a drafter taking him like in the late 70s. Because his ADP, so he went at 87 here. His ADP is 89. So in a room where running backs are being devalued, he still went ahead of ADP. So that's a good indication for the steam that's coming with Javonte Williams. Nez, I took Najee Harris for Najee Nation. I did it for you, buddy. Najee at pick 55. I don't always take Najee Harris, but when I do, it's at value hound prices. Yeah, Nick mentioning the Melvin Gordon thing. In Pat's most recent article, he praised MG3 for his pass catching last season. Ravens OC has mentioned wanting to target ABs. He might be a decent round 18 pick. Yeah, I mean, I think it's still, dependent on, to me, that signing, and I wrote about this in the Fantasy Life newsletter today, was just about giving themselves some insurance if Dobbins continues to hold out and just being like, hey, we have other bodies here. But to your point, they don't really have a guy who profiles as a really good pass catching option on that team. So I do think that's interesting if you want to gal brain, but I think the Melvin Gordon stuff too. Shit, I was going to take Nico Collins. I was going to be like, all right, we won't take Rashad Penny here, but maybe what we do, I don't know if I can bring myself to selecting Juju over Rashad Penny. I was considering that, but we're going to have other ways we can round robin the Patriots. So we're going to add Rashad Penny, even though my bags are very heavy. It's so weird looking at a running back room that has both Najee and Cam Akers on it, because it's just two guys that I don't ever take on their own, much less together. And I'm like, what is it? Whose team is this? Who took over and started drafting this team? So our team here, for the audio listeners, we have a 1-4-5-0 build. I do not mind punting tight end with this configuration at all, because we have 2 Patriots tight ends, 2 Bills tight ends, and even some stuff with the Chargers if we want to do Everett, if I'm playing this round robin. So I think it does set up well for a punt tight end build. And then we're at 4 running backs, 5 wide receivers. The running backs, Najee Harris, Cam Akers, Samaje Perine, Rashad Penny. Wide receivers, Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle, Mike Williams, Gabe Davis, Jamison Williams. Yes, we do have a bunch of Best Ball Breakfast merch. You guys saw last week, we got the new I Love Wide Receivers merch. You guys have been loving the bucket hats. Lots of bucket hat orders over the weekend. We, of course, have the Best Ball Breakfast duck. If you want your coffee and duck merch. And then this is the old school one from last year. We do still have our Value Hound tanks and hats in the store. If you guys are YouTube members and in the Best Ball Breakfast Discord channel, there is discounts as well that you can get applied to your order. You can also always get free shipping with promo code Pete on orders over $50. We'll see what we're looking here at pick 127. Juju does go. I was going to scoop up Juju if he fell. Are there any other wide receivers I want to reach for here? I don't really want Dameon Harris, although he is really slid. I think I am going to use this as another option. I've never liked the Dalton Kincaid price. And I'm even having to reach here for him. But if I'm going to do a Dalton Kincaid team, it's going to be on a punt tight end build where I already have Josh Allen. And that really is the scenario where I want to be taking him at this range. So we have a pretty big onslaught, basically the premium onslaught for the Bills with their pass catchers. Their 3 top pass catchers by ADP. Diggs at pick 7, Gabe Davis at pick 66, Kincaid at 127. I honestly don't love it. But if I'm going to select Josh Allen, if I'm going to make these selections, I got to commit to it and play this as a Bills Uber smash. This one goes out to Chess Liam and to Michael Leone and to Mike Shope and all of Buffalo Bills Best Ball Nation. Speaking of Chess Liam, he's going to be our guest back-to-back this weekend. We're doing a doubleheader on Thursday night that'll kick off at 9 p.m., the randomizer draft. So I'll get that event up and you guys can select a bunch of crazy prompts for Liam. And then immediately following randomizer, we'll do a Best Ball After Dark for YouTube members where we'll chop it up. I want to hear about his experiences out at the World Series of Poker. He was out there for, seemed like forever, at least multiple weeks. Always good catching up with my former chess coach. I say former. I guess we could leave the door open for chess lessons in the future, but I feel like I've done everything I can, you know? He taught me chess. I taught him how to play best ball. Then he won Best Ball Mania 2. I think that chapter of our lives might be over, but excited to catch up with everyone's favorite Best Ball Maniac, Chess Liam, on Thursday night. Oh, yeah, I did see that. He took 3rd in golf. Yeah, Ali bringing up a good point. Gallup JMO, kind of fun. Yeah, I could have considered that one. Man, Geno really falling. What do we want to do here? I can't build anything out of the JMO stuff. Or I mean the Geno stuff. Man, really do not like that wide receiver range. This feels like a Tank Bigsby pick to me. I have a ton of him. But looks like the best pick on the board. So we add Tank along with Najee, Cam Akers, Samaje Perine, and Rashad Penny. Here we go. Helping me build out the schedule. And Dallas plays Buffalo week 15. How did I not take Michael Gallup for my week 15 stacks? Do we do Roman numeral BBMs forever? It's a question. My guess is we will, especially when you get to the double digits. The X just looks better than the 10. The sad thing with Will, speaking of poker, Will says this team looks great, and I can't tell if he's being serious or not. Because I think some people might think this team is actually gross, Only 5 wide receivers. Having to reach for them. Bills onslaught at the latter pieces at not great prices. 2 dead zone running backs, although at quasi non-dead zone prices, at least with Akers. It's fine. It's fine. We'll survive it. Pete, what's one market movement from the start of BBM to now that you wish you would have been ahead of? I have regrets not taking more Alexander Mattison when he was in the, what was he going, like 8th, 9th round? And I was kind of shrugging it off, even though like we all knew Dalvin Cook was not going to end up there. And I wasn't packing my bags accordingly. I'm going to grab Alec Pierce here. You know, I missed out on some of those other wide receiver targets. Like, you know, Dobbs goes off the board. Nico goes off the board. Rashee Rice goes off the board. So Alec Pierce still fits the kind of criteria I like when I'm taking wide receivers in this range. But yeah, J Mike, back to your thing. I wish I took more Madison. That was just such like an obvious closing line value play. And I was kind of stubborn with it. And I should have had, because now what do I have with Madison? I only have a few shares, 2%. I should easily have packed a few more bags in that range and then been content once he moved up, sitting it out. So yeah, I wish I could have that one back for sure. Cedric, how can you see your exposures when you draft? This is the Draft Caddy. It's a Chrome extension. It also works on Mozilla. The draftcaddy.com. There's instructions on the site. You can also hit up me or Brick75, Brian Hooper in the Discord. It's Brian's Draft Caddy, Brian Hooper, who I co-host Lulz with. Any guys that you're heavy on that have dropped significantly? Oh, that I've gotten like bad closing line value on? Who have I? You guys in the chat can probably remember these better than me. Who have I been? Who did I take heavily? I mean, I have a ton of, Wan'Dale Robinson is a great one. I was selecting Wan'Dale Robinson a ton in the, what was it? Like the 15th, 16th range. And now he's free. So that's a guy I've gotten really bad closing line value on. Probably my worst closing line value, I think, of any player. There's the link, thedraftcaddy.com, if you guys want the exposures there. You also get the draft capital bucket. We've talked about this on a few shows. My draft capital buckets are going to be all over the map for this one. What's my quarterback plan here? Because I do not have any players. I'm going to have to build out a backdoor stack for quarterback. Because we have Diggs, Waddle, Mike Williams, Gabe Davis, Jamison Williams, and Alec Pierce. So all of our quarterbacks are off the board. We do have some flexibility. When you have a Josh Allen team, you don't have to worry about it. But I will want to dial up a second stack at some point. I mean, someone take Adam Thielen, right? Is this the Adam Thielen team? I think we just take DJ Chark if it comes to that. What other quarterback stuff can we do? I do Pickett and Purdy stuff so much that I prefer to actually have pieces to make those stacks work. There's nothing really with it. Really does. It's going to come down to if we can do a Bryce Young thing. I think that's the play with this. I think setting up something with Bryce Young and then the backstop is like Mac Jones, right? Even though I don't love the Patriots schedule. I don't love both Mac and Josh Allen in the same Week 17 game. Let's do DJ Chark and see if we can set up something with Bryce Young, who I don't have a ton of. DJ Chark slides past ADP. I do like getting some shares of him. On the show I did with Hilo, that archetype was something Hilo was really targeting this year. We also took Van Jefferson, these guys who are maybe your quote unquote boring vets, but still have the spike week profile. So we add him as our 7th wide receiver here. So we have Josh Allen at quarterback, running back Najee Harris, Cam Akers, Samaje Perine, Rashad Penny, Tank Bigsby. Wide receivers, Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle, Mike Williams, Gabe Davis, Jamison Williams, Alec Pierce, DJ Chark. Tight end, Dalton Kincaid. Najee and Thielen win it all. You willing to put some money behind that one, Pius? Tyler's correct. You can't take Najee and Thielen on the same team. Jared says, Kendre is my biggest closing line loss so far. Yeah. I mean, I'll definitely have a bad CLV on him, but it's not going to be by a ton, right? Because it's like we were drafting him in the 130s, and now he's going early 150s, where the Wandell one was like, I have some 150s of him. I think there was a team we drafted with Sean where it was like 140, and now he's at 200. So it's going to be tough to beat my bad CLV on Wandale. I'm not a solo QB guy. I think one other thing too, when people like point to like, oh, there were these teams last year that made it to the finals with a solo QB team. The gauntlet to the finals, even though the finals is smaller, is meaningfully more difficult this year. Having to go 1 of 16 in week 15 instead of 1 of 12, then 1 of 16 again. And you're going to have to go back-to-back weeks, 1 of 16, which means Josh Allen, say you do the solo QB thing, Josh Allen goes nuclear those 2 weeks, which is definitely possible. That's the thesis. But if that happens and you finish first out of 16 with a solo Josh Allen team, he's going to be min 30, 40% in the best ball finals. And there are going to be a lot of Josh Allen teams who have another quarterback. And they're going to all have outs to a unique stack. And you're going to be sitting there with your little dick in your hand with just Josh Allen, just praying you can stay even with the field. Sorry, I didn't mean to get political. So I was going to do I think I need to scoop up this Cole Kmet, right? That's what I think we need to scoop that up. We're in a punt tight end build, and Cole Kmet falls 25 picks past ADP. Sean already hyping up Cole Kmet on our last best ball breakfast. Because we took an uncorrelated Cole Kmet, I think like 6 or 7 picks ahead of ADP, and it surprised me. Blair Andrews had done a really cool piece on some of the tight ends there and had more of a glimmer of hope for Cole Kmet. Maybe I can do a spicy Cordero Patterson, Cole Kmet week 17 correlation here. I apologize for saying dick on my hand on this 100th stream that is supposed to be family friendly. I know a lot of people brought their families out to watch the 100th stream. I am going to have to go to the bathroom after this. We are going to be landing the plane quickly. If we can all speed this up here as we head into round 16. Also, because we bled a little over time, when this is done, I believe ADP chasing has already started. So when this is done, you guys can go catch ADP chasing. They're going to be talking about all the holdout situations. And we will see how we land this plane. We have 3 more picks left. We have a 1-5-7-2 build. We have Josh Allen at quarterback, Najee Harris, Cam Akers, Samaje Perine, Rashad Penny, Tank Bigsby. Wide receivers, Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle, Mike Williams, Gabe Davis, Jamison Williams, Alec Pierce, DJ Chark, Dalton Kincaid, and Cole Kmet at tight end. It's always the draft. It's like Geno falls in this draft. Kenny Pickett falls in this draft. Brock Purdy, some of my like most targeted players because I have so much of their wide receivers. But I can't even take advantage of it in this draft. Can't even enjoy that sweet, sweet value. I believe we are just not going to mess around, and we are going to select. I think we're going to select Bryce Young here. Maybe the Terrace Marshall slappies come out again and get me into another last round Terrace Marshall selection. So we take Bryce Young. This was the backdoor stack we set up. I think Bryce Young pairs well with Josh Allen, and I just didn't have a lot of other outs to plausible stacks. So we're at a 2-5-7-2 build. we're certainly going to get to 3 tight ends. The question is, we have 2 more picks. I think the question is this an 8th wide receiver or a 6th running back team? I think that's kind of what I'm weighing here. Can you go to battle with this room of 5 running backs? Najee Harris, Cam Akers, Samaje Perine, Rashad Penny, Tank Bigsby. Feels close. Where's our buckets here in the app? Right now we're in bucket 5. Najee just automatically puts us in the final bucket. We could go 2 tight ends. I don't think it would be egregious to just say, hey, Dalton Kincaid's the smash. Cole Kmet, an uber value at this cost. Just go with the 2. It basically comes to how I want to play the New England stuff. And we have options, right? Where if you want to go the running back with the New England correlation slot, you could go with Pierce Strong. If you want to go with the tight end, we got Gesicki and Hunter Henry still both on the board. I've been, as much as I like Pierce Strong, I have not been selecting him much because he's going to be completely free and off the radar if they sign Dalvin Cook. So I'm just kind of waiting to see how that shakes out a little bit. The Fournette thing isn't a bad suggestion either. But what I am going to do is I'm going to take Gesicki. I do prefer Gesicki to Hunter Henry. And we'll get that 3rd tight end. I mentioned how I wanted to play that round robin there with Denver, Buffalo, and LAC. So the Patriots play Denver week 16 and Buffalo week 17. So we get that. And then with the Chargers, you get Buffalo week 16, Denver week 17. And then Buffalo, who does Buffalo play in week? Yeah, they play the Chargers and then New England. So I like how that shook out. And now it is really just deciding, is this last pick, do you go with a Terrace Marshall and get the double stack at wide receiver? Or do you grab a running back? You could do like a Zamir White with Alec Pierce, a little week 17 there. Been trying to get a little bit more Zamir White share if he moves up. There is the Pierre Strong if you just wanted to go all in on that, but I don't love that. And I do honestly like Cordarrelle Patterson too. Gretch has been getting me a little hyped up on him. He does play Indy week 16 as well. And then the Chicago would be for the Cole Kmet. We have some options here. Chat trying to get me to take Visca. Why is Jake Ferguson still free? I'm not sure. I think the thing is like, it's really just the Dak Prescott. And yeah, you have Dak, Derek. So the Dak Prescott drafter is interested in him. But like, if you're a Dak Prescott drafter and you get 2 early tight ends or whatever, and you're not forcing that 3rd tight end, like there will just be drafts where he goes undrafted. Why would I take Patrick Laird's backup? So this 7 wide receiver, so we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 through 7 rounds, and then we add Pierce Chark. This is really close for me on a 6 running back. And all of my targets are here. I think what I'm really debating between Marshall, Patterson, and Zamir White. I kind of like the Patterson angle on this team. Plays Indy, plays Chicago. I think we're going to go with Patterson. We already have a decent amount of Marshall. Play this as a skinny stack with just Chark. There's something about Najee Harris where Najee Harris just doesn't scream 5 running back build to me. So we do add Cordarrelle Patterson. Draft. Everyone was completely all over the map with who they wanted to take. Terrace Marshall Spash. Stephanie wanted me to take Kelly, Patterson, Zamir. It's almost like what happens when you get to the 18th round. You can make some good arguments for all of them. This team's in the books. Let's recap it here. Josh Allen and Bryce Young at quarterback. Running back Najee Harris at pick 55. Cam Akers at pick 79. Samaje Perine, Rashad Penny, Tank Bigsby, Cordero Patterson. Wide receivers Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle, Mike Williams, Gabe Davis, Jamison Williams, Alec Pierce, DJ Chark. I think I recovered at wide receiver. Okay there. Alec Pierce and Chark kind of fit the type of profiles I would like to round out, which is a slightly weaker wide receiver room than I'm used to. And then tight ends, we do get the take the Dalton Kincaid plunge with Allen, Cole Kmet, huge value. Mike Gesicki to help us play those playoff matchups through a few different matchups there. A 2-6-7-3 build to wrap up our 100th draft here on the channel. We fed the ducks. We multi-tabled. We had a grand old time. I appreciate all of you guys hanging out here. I'll be back tomorrow to draft with Spags on Splash Play for my 101st draft. Once this is over, head over and check out ADP Chasing, which just started up a little bit ago. The fellows will be talking about the running back holdouts. And then, like I said, if you're in the Discord, I'm going to go drop a link to the form. If you want to be in the world's fastest slow draft on Friday at 2:30, please check out that form. We will see you guys in a second. Appreciate all of you here. Truly a fun ride drafting all of these teams on stream for you guys. We will catch you guys soon.